What's up, everybody? We're gonna wait for people to come in. Grand Rising. Let me take a look at what I got going on here. What's up, Grand Rising? We're gonna be going over the astrology of the week ahead. How's everyone doing? Happy Cancer season. We had our summer solstice yesterday. Anybody do anything fun for the summer solstice? So we're live on Instagram, and then this is gonna be posted to YouTube if you're not able to stay. Hello. It's June 22nd. This pen, dude, I don't know why I got these pens that just like don't work. And they're Papermate pens too. Like these pens should be working. Hmm. Hello, what's up? How's everybody doing? How's your weekend? How's your summer solstice? Let me go get another pen really quick. Someone said RX. Did you go to the doctor? Is that what you mean? We're talking about Mercury retrograde. Let's take a look. Let's see, what pen are we gonna use? Do I have a pen that works? Jeez. Jeez Louise. Can't find a functioning pen nowadays. My dog's looking at me like I'm crazy. What's up, everybody? Welcome. Thank you for being here. Excited to go over the astrology of the week. I hope you all slept well. We have quite a few things to talk about today. We're in the first week of Cancer season. Okay, well, this pen is not working either. Where am I getting these like pens from? Anyways, someone said Mercury RX pre-shadow. There's nothing wrong with the pen. Well, the pen isn't functioning, so this is three pens that aren't working. I don't get it. I got these like Papermate pens, Ink Joy Gel, and they're just like not working. So weird. Anyways, let's talk about the astrology of the week. I'm just gonna bypass taking notes today. We're gonna what do you call it? We're gonna free ball it. How's everybody feeling? How's everybody doing? Instagram for TV. I didn't even know that was possible. So we're in the first week of Cancer season. We are at our midway point with the new moon in Gemini. One of the things I wanted to tell you guys is this week, as Jupiter is coming to a close in the sign of Cancer. So there's a few things we're going to talk about today. Um, we are in the Mercury retrograde pre-shadow. Jupiter's about the last degrees of Cancer. With Jupiter at the last degrees of Cancer, we're going to be seeing people committing to like a future plan or a future vision this week. And we're going to be seeing kind of like endings and completions and closure. Whenever Jupiter is approaching the end of a sign and he's about to go into a new sign, so Jupiter is going to be going into Leo, not this week, but it's actually going to be next week. Um, right as Mercury slows down to retrograde, we tend to get a lot of changes. So Jupiter actually goes into Leo from the 29th to the 30th, depending on where you're at in the world. And when Jupiter wraps, Jupiter is a massive planet, right? So one of the things we always want to remember is Saturn and Jupiter are massive planets. Jupiter is, I think, the biggest planet second to the sun. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he is. So the larger a planet, the more powerful it is in astrology, and the more influence it has over our life. And Jupiter and Saturn, because Jupiter takes a year to transit a sign, and Saturn takes an average of like 2.5 years roughly. Don't quote me on that. Um, when they move and they change signs, we also tend to move and change signs and or not change signs, but we also tend to move. Like something big tends to happen in our life, or something can unfold in our life. especially if you are someone that you have a strong Jupiter imprint in your chart. Like let's say you have Jupiter on your ascendant, Jupiter on your IC. Let's say you have a lot of Sag, a lot of Pisces in your chart, or you have your big three in Sag or Pisces, your Sun, Moon, or Rising in Sag or Pisces. When Jupiter moves, you also move. Okay, and Jupiter, one of the things that a lot of people don't understand about Jupiter is he has a lot to do with closures and endings just as much as Saturn does. Every planet, depending on the way your chart is, will have some kind of say over when it's time to go and when it's time to stop, or when it's time to persevere, when it's time to start, when it's time to end, right? And for everybody, depending on your rising sign, you know, you have a different relationship with the planets, and some planets favor better for you, and other planets do not favor for you, depending on which houses the planets rule in your chart. For instance, the planets that rule your eighth house and your 12th house, most like those planets, just by rulership of those signs, you're going to have a more difficult relationship with. Okay. And this is something that's important to remember because we never want to just be like, oh, Jupiter, the bringer of blessings. Oh, the Jupiter, the bringer of opportunity. Well, if you have Pisces or Sag ruling your eighth house or your 12th house, for you, Jupiter's going to tell you when it's going to tell you, okay, this thing is dying. This thing is ending. This thing needs to transform and change. And it's really important that we always remember this when it comes to all the planets. Just because Jupiter and Venus are the good planets and Saturn and Mars are the more challenging, difficult planets, doesn't mean that Saturn and Mars cannot work in your favor and actually be good for you, right? Or that Jupiter and Venus can kind of work in a more difficult fashion for you because of the planets they rule, because of the houses they rule in your chart, because of the way they're situated, right? Where they could bring more endings, loss, struggle, things like this. So it's really important to always gauge your own personal relationship with the planets based on your rising sign. And you always want to take a look at, you want to identify which planets are favorable for you and which planets are not favorable for you based on your rising sign. And if you have any questions about that, you can always book a reading with me. This is something that I'm totally open and willing to go over. It's not something that I typically cover for people because a lot of people that see me for readings, they're not astrologers. So I'm not going to go ahead and like try to explain kind of an astrological complicated concept to them associated with house rulership and planetary strength and all that. But if you are interested, let's say you are learning about astrology and you want to know, okay, which planets are favorable for me, which planets are difficult for me, I will be more than happy to show you that and tell you that when I go into your chart, when we break down your chart, right? So the reason why I'm talking about this is because Jupiter is on the move and Mercury is about to slow down and retrograde going into next week. So because Jupiter's going into Leo on the 29th, 30th of this month, and because Mercury's soon to start retrograding, Mercury is going to be retrograding at, let's see, I wrote it down right here. He's going to start retrograding on what did I write here? On the 29th. He's going to start retrograding on the 29th, which is right around when Jupiter goes into Leo. So we're going to have this kind of we have this Jupiter Mercury thing happening where Jupiter's going into Leo and Mercury is starting to retrograde. So let me tell you about this week, okay? Let me tell you about this week, okay? And we're going to kind of I'm going to give you guys some advice over this week. This week, if you've been thinking about starting something or beginning something, or if you want to like initiate something, you should definitely do it this week before Mercury goes retrograde and before Jupiter changes signs, okay? Um, because once Mercury's already slowing down to go retrograde. So this week, we may feel in some ways that things are grinding to a halt or things are slowing down or all of a sudden as because Mercury's slowing down we can start to feel like everyday tasks and obligations and responsibilities and things like this are really cumbersome and really heavy and really burdensome, okay? So I just want you to keep that. I want you guys to keep that in mind. Mercury is slowing down. He's in a grind to a halt. And because Mercury has a lot to do with our day-to-day habits, our routines, our appointments, Mercury's the minutes on our day. We can feel like, everything's grinding to a halt. Everything is slowing down. Just getting up out of bed is like, it's harder. It's more difficult, right? The other thing we want to keep in mind is the sun has come into Cancer with Mercury. So we're in the first week of Cancer season. What you want to do, take a look at your chart. Take a look at your chart and be like, okay, what houses, if you're using Placidus, or what house, if you're using whole sign, which you should be using whole sign because I'm a whole sign astrologer and we do traditional astrology around here. Okay, Placidus, take it or leave it. We don't like it. It's whatever. So if you take a look at your Cancer house, you want to take a look at the house. What do you have in Cancer? Do you have any placements there? Is it your rising sign, right? Is it you have your moon there? Do you have your Venus there? Whatever. Because this is the house that's going to be activated for, okay, for Cancer season. All right. But also, but also, Mercury is in your Cancer house right now, and he's been sitting in there for the last 3.5 weeks. Mercury's going to have you take a look at the themes of your Cancer house, and he's going to have the themes of your Cancer house go retrograde right at the same time that the sun is also illuminating your Cancer house, right? Okay, so it's important because we're going to have to do some reflection. We're going to have to do some revision. We're going to have to do some revisiting. We're going to have to do some revising associated with our Cancer house. It's the double whammy of the sun coming into Cancer and illuminating and activating our Cancer house, right? And it's also Mercury retrograde Mercury in the Cancer house about to slow down and go backwards. Okay, so I'm going to use an example for myself. I have Cancer in the fifth house. I have Mercury retrograde going in my fifth house. Fifth house is love, romance. Fifth house is joy, children. Fifth house is fun. I do have the moon in Capricorn, opposite, of Cancer for me. And because Mercury, my fifth house ruler, is tied to the fourth, I'm sorry, Mercury, my fourth house ruler, is in the fifth. So my fourth house is in Gemini. Mercury is transiting my fifth house. Guess what I'm going to be doing from this week to next week? I am moving. So this Mercury retrograde for me, because Mercury rules my fourth house of Gemini, okay, is literally going to be looking like it's like me moving. Okay, and hopefully I can move before Mercury starts the retrograde. I think on the 29th, I'm driving as Mercury has grounded to a halt and he is beginning his retrograde on the 29th. I'm driving down to LA. Okay, so we're gonna see how that goes. The timing, I don't know how the timing ended up this way. It just ended up this way, and I'm just, I'm like, all right, Lord, all right, Mercury, like just do your best. Okay, help me through this. So, just to give you guys a little bit of an example. Let me see what people are asking. Cancer in the 11th house. Yeah, your Cancer house, the house that's ruled by the sign of Cancer. You look at your birth chart. You can look at your transit chart or your birth chart. You can look at both. Don't leave anything. I'm hoping I won't. Been planning to make. Yeah, so okay. There's also with Jupiter leaving your Cancer house, Jupiter could also be leaving you a gift or a present in your Cancer house, okay, with the topics of that house. As he leaves your Cancer house and goes into Leo, okay? And I want to reinforce this. There may be some kind of ending or some kind of closure. There could be something that's being released from your the house of Cancer for you as Jupiter is leaving that sign and he's going into Leo. There could be something new, something being birthed. There could be something that appears or shows up in your Leo house next month as Jupiter shifts from Cancer and goes into Leo. If you have any Leo placements, if you have fire sign placements, Sag, Aries, Leo, if you have fire sign placements, this Jupiter and Leo transit is going to be very auspicious. It's going to be very good for you. Um, if you are a fixed sign, okay, especially if you have Taurus, Scorpio, or Aquarius placements, this Jupiter and Leo could bring some expansion and growth in your life, but could also bring some challenges. Jupiter has a lot to do with legal problems and legal issues. Jupiter also has a lot to do on the positive side with traveling, and expansion in your life, and getting your passport and visiting a country you've never been to before and things like this. So, it's important that you take a look at what house you have Leo in, because that's what Jupiter is going to expand and grow. Oh, this is when you get your raise. Yeah. So look at Miss Armstrong. She's going to be getting a raise at her job. And I know Miss Armstrong because she's one of my clients. And I do believe Jupiter is going to your sixth house of work and jobs, right, Miss Armstrong? So if Jupiter is going into your sixth, then guess what? You're receiving expansion and growth around work, around the area of work, which is looking like more money coming in for you, right? So, yeah, it's going to be really good. Jupiter and Leo is going to be really good. So, I'll kind of just give you guys a little bit of a rundown based on your rising sign of how Jupiter and Leo can really show up for you. Okay. And a really fascinating thing to do, let me tell you a really cool thing to do is to track Jupiter's transit through your chart year by year to see how Jupiter brings expansion and growth to the houses as he's moving through the houses in your chart year by year. I have done this for the last 5 years and it is so crazy. When Jupiter was going through my third house, my brother got married. Third house is siblings. Okay. When Jupiter was going through my fourth house, um, I ended up decorating my apartment. So I had already moved. Fourth house is home and family, but I ended up really getting comfortable in my apartment. Ended up decorating it. I did all the lighting. I got my lamps. I got all the art. So, Jupiter really expanded my fourth house when he was going through Gemini. Um, in a way where I kind of got more comfortable and got more secure and actually made my place my own. And I and I really, when Jupiter transited my fourth, I really fell in love with my apartment. Okay. That was when Jupiter was in Gemini. So Jupiter in Cancer has been going through my fifth house. And honestly, it's been a little bit of mixed results. I'm gonna be honest. There is some romantic situations that I got caught up in that I did not need to be getting caught up in that left me very bitter and very jaded. And so, but the Jupiter going through the fifth has been really good for my creativity. It's been really fun, really joyous for me. I also went on a cruise for the first time, so it's so crazy. As Jupiter went into Cancer last year, I went on a big boat, Jupiter in Cancer, on the Cancer is the ocean. Cancer is, Cancer and Pisces are the ocean. So I went, and Jupiter is large things. So literally, as Jupiter went into Cancer last year, I ended up taking my first cruise. We went on a 7-day cruise with my best friend. And guess what her sign is? She's a Cancer. Okay. So, it's so interesting when you go back and you track Jupiter's transit through your houses, you will see how Jupiter brings expansion and growth to every house as he's moving through your house or through the houses every year. It's really fascinating to do, actually. Happy to welcome Jupiter into my fifth, try my ascendant in Aries. It seemed to bring a lot of sadness and endings in my family life as it tried my Scorpio placements. Yeah, Jupiter in the fourth, and that's one of the things I was telling people. Sometimes a Jupiter transit in the fourth house or the eighth house can literally be a grandparent passing away. It could be an elder, a grandmother, grandfather, elder passing away. It can also be a teacher or coach. It could be like someone that was really benevolent in your life. Like, let's say you had a high school teacher that you're really close with, or you had a coach that, really was there for you. You get news of them passing away. The fourth house, the eighth house, and the 12th house, they bring endings. And one of the things that we forget about the fourth, even though it's the best of the 4, 8, 12, trifecta, or in Vedic astrology, they call these houses the Dusthana houses, the houses of suffering, because these are the houses that bring endings. Even though the fourth is the best, the fourth still has a lot to do with death. The fourth still has a lot to do with endings. The fourth is like the energy, like graveyard energy. It can be, you know what I mean? It's the most positive of houses 4, 8, and 12, but it's still a challenging house. And when Jupiter transits that fourth, a lot of times we'll have family members. So that's what I was saying in the beginning. Sometimes Jupiter transits, they're about endings and closure, right? And they may bring endings and closure in a way that's more graceful or that may teach you some kind of moral lesson. That's one of the things. Jupiter never brings something to an end or never, frees us from something or has us move away from something without some kind of big moral lesson He loves to teach us these like moral lessons, like these virtuous lessons, you know. That's a Jupiter thing. Everybody coming in, welcome. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, does Mercury retrograde affect you if you have natal Mercury retrograde? Yes, it does. So, whenever, okay, if let's say you have Mars retrograde, let's say you have Mercury retrograde, let's say you have Venus retrograde, let's say you have Jupiter retrograde. Whenever that planet goes retrograde in your chart, you are going to move forward and things are going to happen for you. Oh my God, I'm just realizing this right now. It's so crazy. I have Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, and whenever Mercury goes retrograde, I make big changes in my life. And it's so crazy. The timing of every time I've started a new job was connected to Mercury going retrograde. So literally, I've started two jobs while on the day before, the day after, Mercury went retrograde. Now Mercury rules my fourth house of home and family. Mercury's about to go in real estate where I'm living. Mercury's literally going retrograde on the day that I'm driving down to LA and moving because I have Mercury retrograde. So one of the things I always tell people, if you have natal Mercury retrograde or any planet retrograde in your chart, when that planet goes backwards, you go forwards. A lot of people that have Venus retrograde, they get married when Venus retrogrades in the sky, or they get a divorce or a separation. And this can is actually timed. It's so cool. There's a on the astrology podcast by Chris Brennan, there's an episode that he did on Venus retrogrades. It's about 4 hours long, but it's totally worth the watch. And he literally tied Brad Pitt's relationship with Angelina Jolie because he has Venus retrograde. Him and Angelina got together, okay, and then 8 years later, they're engaged for 8 years, and literally on the Venus retrograde that he met Angelina, 8 years later, he ended up getting married to her. Because Venus works in 8 year cycles. And I'm going to talk about this once we once we get closer to the Venus retrograde in Scorpio. I'm going to talk to you guys about how you can go ahead and track the Venus retrograde cycles in your chart to see how the Venus retrograde cycle and other retrogrades are tied to these big moments of change and transition in your life. Sydney said, "Oh my God, that makes so much sense. No one has ever put it quite together like that. Thank you." Someone said, "That makes a lot of sense looking back at things that happened to me during retrogrades." Yeah. For people that have planets that are going forwards, the retrogrades are going to slow them down and have them go backwards, you know? But for those of us that have retrograde planets, we live in a state of kind of revision and review all the time. We're always looking backwards. That's the beauty of having a lot of retrogrades in your chart. It makes you very reflective and it makes you always look at the past and learn from the past. And when people have direct planets, like all their planets are direct, they really don't, they really won't reflect on things. They're like more forward-moving people. They're always looking forward. They don't look back to the past, where retrograde planets do, right? And also retrograde planets, they have to figure out how to function in a way that is not direct, right? Retrograde planets, they have a quality sometimes where they go against the grain and they don't do things conventionally the way other planets will, right? So this is why you'll see in charts of people that have a very radical, fashion style, or they go against the grain in fashion, or even they have a different type of sexuality, different type of gender expression, sexuality, or they even can have taboo relationships. Venus retrograde. So Venus retrograde people, they have taboo relationships. They go against society's expectations. They go against society's fashion sense. They may come off as uncultured, but it's because they don't give a fuck about the cultural rules. Because why? Venus is about the cultural standard, right? So Venus is social etiquette. Whenever you go into a room and you see everyone dressed a certain way and everyone's talking a certain way and everyone's acting a certain way, that's Venus. Venus is about acceptance into social, into like what do you call this? Acceptance into society or different groups of society, right? So it's kind of like, and Venus is very hierarchical. People, we tend to think as of Venus as all loving, but no, Venus is judgmental. And Venus says if you don't have enough money, you can't come to this party. Venus is like the Raya app, Oh, if you're not making over 300,000 a year, if you're not making 500,000 a year, you can't be on this dating app. That's Venus. Venus is elegance, culture, the aristocracy, you know? You can't you're not welcome to the party. I'm sorry, you're not dressed appropriately. Whenever that happens, you're getting the harshness of Venus. Okay? Like that's how Venus works. We also got to think Venus is exclusive, you know? Venus is exclusive. Venus is, if you want access to all these pretty girls, you got to pay $100 to get into the club. That's Venus. That's how Venus works. We always think of like the lovely light side of Venus. Oh, she's so sweet. So no, she could be a bitch. Venus could be a bitch too. Venus can be like, ew, she's judgmental. She is, ew, don't touch me. Come on, Libra Tauruses, where you at? Where my Libra Taurus people at? Ew, don't look at me like that. Don't touch me. Mm-mm. Don't touch my hair. Don't touch my clothes. That's Venus. And that's my I have Mars in Libra. So I'm very I'm very I could be like this. Okay? I could be like this. I'm guilty as charged. Okay? Guilty as charged. Unhand me. Yes. Thank you. Unhand me with your uncouth self. My Libra child won't touch anything with a spot on her food. Yeah, that's Venus. We're gonna have a very interesting Venus and Scorpio. Venus retrograde and Scorpio here, my judgmental ass. Yeah, Venus, she could be like that. She'd be a little snooty and you know, it's so funny because once we really start to understand, the full archetype of the planets, we can also see how sometimes they can be a little judgy, they can be a little shallow. Libra rising sun and Libra sun twins, bougie like mom. Yeah, yeah. Whenever you see those little kids with the really nice sneakers and the diamonds in their ears, and like that's a Venusian child right there. I always think of the little boys, like when like a mom has her cute little boy and he has his ears pierced and he has diamonds and he has the really nice like clothes on and the really nice shoes. That's a Libra child right there. You know, that's a Libra child. My daughter has Venus in the first in Gemini. She's a Taurus. Looking forward to see how that plans. What books do you recommend to learn more? I'll go ahead and share some books in my stories after this. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. It's really hard for me to. People ask me like, what type of astrology do you practice? And it's crazy because once I really think about my practice, like I have like three bookshelves full of books, and two of them are full of astrology books. And I've studied Vedic astrology, I've studied Hellenistic astrology, I've studied modern astrology, I've studied evolutionary astrology, and I've also studied medical astrology. I love medical astrology. And so I kind of like combine all these things that I've studied, and it's kind of given me a very well drawn out understanding of the planets and how they work and also how astrology works. But I will share some books for those of you that are interested in learning. I will share some books in my stories. Okay. All right. Luology, all of them. Yeah, I do everything astrology. Everything astrology. Okay. This is my thing, right? This is my thing. If we want to be well-rounded astrologers, if we want to be well-rounded astrologers, we got to have a deep understanding of all the areas of people's life. You know what I mean? So, like, how does love show up in the chart? How does work, career stuff, or job stuff show up in the chart? How does health stuff show up in the chart? And I'm a firm believer that if to be a great astrologer, you have to be able to understand all the houses. You gotta be able to understand someone's entire life and see the bigger picture, see the whole picture of their life. Because our life doesn't happen in isolation when it comes to different areas of our life and themes of our life, right? Like our life isn't just like, okay, you have your career over here, and then you have your kids over here, and then you have your health over here. These things don't happen in isolation. These things are happening in a very intricate interplay a lot of times. And sometimes your sixth house of health, sometimes a transit in the sixth house is not about a job or work or career thing. Sometimes it's about a health struggle. Sometimes it's about your pet. Sometimes it's about an enemy that you have at your job. You see what I'm saying? So it's important that we have to like be kind of like open to learning all the different branches of astrology and seeing what astrology really speaks to us. There's certain people, they studied a certain, brand of astrology for years and they never felt connected to it. And then all of a sudden, bam, they discover Vedic astrology, or bam, they discover, West Hellenistic, or they discover, modern, or they discover evolutionary astrology, and bam, almost, oh my God, it makes so much sense. All of a sudden, the pieces click, right? So it's important that we stay really open and really receptive to learning all whatever it is that we're guided to learn, whatever it is our spirit is attracted to when it comes to astrology. Yeah, there's holistic astrology. I just broke this whole thing down for a Christian in the laundromat because he was curious and open, and I love that we both had beautiful insights. I love that. Yeah, just like Western versus holistic medicine. Yeah. hmm So, okay, let me talk a little bit before we dive into the astrology of the week. Um, we don't really got that much going on this week. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about Jupiter and Leo and how that's going to look based on your rising sign, okay? And just give you guys a little bit a brief preview of it. How long are we here? We've been here for about 30 minutes. Okay. So if you are an Aries, Leo, or a Sag rising, Jupiter is going to be going into either houses 1, 5, or 9. Okay. If you're Aries, Leo, or Sag rising. And this Jupiter ingress for you guys, for fire sign risings, is going to be probably one of the best because Jupiter is also exiting houses 4, 8, and 12 for you. Okay. So because Jupiter's exiting the challenging houses 4, 8, and 12 and going into the most positive houses, houses 1, 5, and 9, this is going to be a glow up for fire sign risings. Jupiter and Leo is going to be a glow up for you guys. Okay. You're going to be feeling more confident. Your creative endeavors may see some reward or recognition. You may also be taking a big travel or vacation experience that you haven't taken before. You might be going somewhere that you've never been before, and it'll be really kind of lucky and beautiful and blessed. This could also be a good time to kind of get back to your body and your health, and taking a look at your personality, your character, the way that you express yourself, your body, your health, stuff like this. Jupiter will help you with kind of feeling better about yourself, feeling better about your body. Also, for those of you that are creatives, Aries, Leo, Sag rising, if you're a creative person, this is a beautiful transit to put your art on display, to start sharing it with the world and showing people, because you can get some popularity, some recognition, some success, things like this. Um, this is also really good if you are planning on starting a business. Aries, Leo, Sag rising. Let's say you want to start a business. Let's say you want to get more into entrepreneurial activity. Let's say you want to, put out a creative album or something like this, like a musical album or something. This will be a really good transit to do that. Jupiter and Leo. Mhm. Okay, and this is because Jupiter's activating houses 1, 5, and 9. Also, if you are thinking about getting back into school, okay, really good transit to get back into school, okay, or even to start taking classes to expand your knowledge and wisdom. Let me tell you one of the things that Jupiter loves. Jupiter loves a good student, and Jupiter loves people that are always learning and expanding. And Jupiter also loves people that are always like exploring, they're coming to contact with different cultures or trying different things out, Jupiter loves people that are adventurous, So I do think that Aries, Leo, Sag, Rising, you guys are going to be getting back some of your spice, getting back some of your feistiness with Jupiter going into Leo. I also think that we're going to see you fire sign risings kind of like initiating or starting something new. This could also be a pregnancy transit for you, so just be mindful of this. If you are Aries, Leo, or Sag rising, Jupiter could bring you a baby. Um, and also, Jupiter could bring in a lover for you. Okay. Houses 1, 5, and 9 are going to be activated. Okay. Also, this is a good transit, Aries, Leo, Sag rising, for good legal outcomes as well. So if you've been in a court case or a legal battle and you're waiting, you're like wondering how it's going to end, or you're wondering if you're going to win. Jupiter, if if you are in the right, okay, and there's no corruption, and you're depending on your chart, you could end up getting that win with Jupiter going into Leo. This is for Aries, Sag, and Leo rising. Okay. So if you're an Earth sign, Jupiter and Leo, so if you're an Earth sign rising, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn rising, Jupiter and Leo might be a little more challenging for you. It might have you take a look at your financial, your money situation, because it is entering houses 4, 8, and 12. It could also be about pulling out debt to buy property or buy real estate or even moving, you know. That's a very big possibility, especially Taurus risings. You know, Jupiter and Leo could have you moving and things like this. I do think that Capricorn, well, Capricorns are pretty good at their business, but you know, Capricorn rising, you guys can definitely be getting some income coming in, or you could see a return on investments possibly. But yeah, Capricorn rising, we may see some endings in your life. You know, I'm gonna be honest with you, with Jupiter and Leo, there are gonna be some Capricorns and Cancers actually, Cancer Capricorn risings, that are gonna be going through like some kind of divorce or separation. So okay. Virgo rising, you and your husband want to buy a ranch. Yeah, Virgo rising, this is oh, I have a question for you. Steph, are you buying that ranch in a different in Mexico, like in a different country or far? Or are you buying it locally? Just thinking about Jupiter in your 12th. I'm wondering if you're gonna buy this ranch if it's local, like in your same state, or if it's like in like Mexico or something. Because Jupiter is gonna be going into the 12th for Virgo risings. Um, and so, you know, what's interesting about the about Jupiter transiting the 12th and the 8th is a lot of times, because these are the houses of debt, we will take out debt for something good or positive. So Jupiter is good, positive things. And when Jupiter transits the houses of debt, which are the eighth and 12th houses, sometimes we'll take out debt to buy new property, to buy a car, to go back to school, okay, or to invest in like a business or start a business. So, you know, it's really important that we're not afraid of the 12th and the 8th houses, and we're not afraid of going into debt sometimes, especially when Jupiter is transiting these houses, because Jupiter's telling us, hey, I want to bring expansion and growth into your life, but in order for you to for you to have that growth and expansion, you need to take out money. You need to borrow some money. You need to go into debt. And then I will pay you back in the future, right? Or this thing that you invest in will, you know, reap dividends in the future in some type of way. So it's something that, you know, it's really important to keep in mind, all right? You do want to take a look at the health of your family members, though. You just want to be mindful of the health of your family members. If you are a Virgo, Capricorn, or Taurus rising, you know, Jupiter going through, especially going through the eighth and 12th houses, can, you know, bring illness and sickness to family members, grandparents, grandmothers, grandfathers, stuff like this. So you just want to be mindful of that, okay? Look what people are. Put some light in here. The sun's coming out. You guys see the light? Is the light helping? Welcome. Hey Jay. Okay. Also, if you're an earth sign rising, Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo rising, Jupiter going through houses 4, 8, and 12, good time to sell real estate. If you're looking to sell anything, you're looking to sell a car, you're looking to sell real estate, you're looking to, you know, open up a business where you're selling products or something, really good transit for selling and getting rid of things. You know, if you want to also remodel your house, you know, we're going to see a lot of Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo risings. They're going to be remodeling their house. They're going to be putting in a pool. They're going to be changing the roof. They're going to be investing in like their property, and they're investing in the material world in some type of way. But if you want to get rid of shit, use the Jupiter transit to get rid of stuff. You can make good money off of selling things, especially if it's like real estate, property, stuff like that. Another thing is oh, debt consolidation, you know, getting on some kind of repayment program, filing bankruptcy, you know, settling your taxes. I'm going to tell you right now, Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo rising, Jupiter in the 8th, Jupiter in the 12th, especially, the tax man can come for you if you have unpaid taxes. Okay. Make sure that you are using this transit to get your money together, or to like figure out your money situation, or to start paying back loans. Jupiter will help you with this. Jupiter will help you clear your debts. Oh my God, my skin. Okay, can I just say that like my skin is looking like amazing? Like what is going on? Look at me. I'm looking all shiny and everything. What is going on? Whoa, look at the skin. The skin is all look at look at the glow. Look at this. It's all shiny and I'm a Libra in Vedic astrology, by the way. This is actually really good. This is what is this? Carnelian milk tea. It's really good. Thank you. I always do my best to look beautiful for you guys on Monday mornings. I always take my shower and I'll shave and I got a haircut. What was it yesterday? Day before yesterday? Got a haircut by my favorite barber that I'm in love with, who's a Capricorn. And oh my God, this man is such a Capricorn. He's like this Russian guy, and he's like strong and thick. And I'm just like, oh, love this man. Oh, I'm gonna miss my barber, even though he charges $50 a haircut. It's not his fault though. He works at a bougie barber shop. You're a Sag in Vedic. Venus and Leo suits you. Thank you. Oh, you always look great. They not. Oh, don't lie to me like that. Skin popping. I love it. Okay, so Venus or Jupiter going to Leo for water signs. Okay, water signs: Pisces, Scorpio, Cancer rising. Okay, Pisces, Scorpio, Cancer rising. Jupiter in Leo is going to be good for your business life, for your work life, for your money life. Okay, it's going to be good for your health and your wellness and your routines as well. You might get a little lazy, so just be ready. Water sign risings could all they could be a little lazy already. Water sign risings could be a little lazy, but um, it's going into houses 2, 6, and 10. These are the houses of your relationship with the material world, your relationship with money, your relationship with food, your relationship with your public image, your public reputation, your career life, okay? Your goals, your dreams, your ambitions, what you're aspiring for. So Jupiter and Leo for water sign risings, Pisces, Scorpio, Cancer rising can give you a beautiful boost when it comes to your work life. You can get a promotion, you can get a new job, you can get that leadership position, you can get a raise, you can maybe if you want to start your own business. Also, working for international foreign companies, working for sports companies, working as a journalist, working for a publisher. Some of you water sign risings, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces rising, guess what? It's time for you to step into your role as a teacher, as a guru, as a mentor, as a coach, as a leader, as a professor. You a professor now. Or a writer. Okay, some of you guys want to do, you want to write, you want to publish something or something. Um, it's the time with Jupiter and Leo for you to do those things. Okay, you're going to be kind of, these houses are going to get easier for you, you know, and Jupiter wants to bring some expansion and growth. I will tell you though, I will tell you, Jupiter, houses 2, 6, and 10, he don't like that much, especially the sixth house and the second house. He don't really do good in those houses. Jupiter is a planet that loves to fly high. He loves to be free. He loves to expand and grow. He loves traveling, He loves long distance journeys. He's a planet that doesn't like to be grounded. He doesn't like to be given a day job. He doesn't want a routine. Jupiter doesn't like this, okay? If you think about Jupiter being the guru, Jupiter being the pope, Jupiter being the priest, Jupiter is the professor, He's the dean of the college. Do they have a regular everyday job? No, they don't. They don't like it. It don't work out for them in that way, right? So I want you guys to think about that. My Scorpio, Pisces, and Cancer risings with Jupiter going to the sixth, second, and 10th. Sometimes he will free you from a job because that job is not giving you the space and not giving you, and it's not in alignment with your own becoming, your own evolution. We tend to think of Saturn as a planet that will bring, and in Mars, right? The planets that bring kind of like endings and closure, they force us out of things or they put us in precarious. Like getting fired is a Mars thing. Think about it, right? Think about the word fired. What's the planet of fire? Mars. And it's so funny because when people do get fired, there's usually Mars at work in some type of way on that day in their chart. You know, Mars is typically doing something when people do get fired, right? But Jupiter, he will free us and liberate us if he doesn't think that a certain job or profession, if it's not tied to like our dharma, our purpose, like our mission, he will move us away from that thing, you know? So just keep that in mind. Pisces doesn't like to be in the second. No, I said Jupiter. Yeah, Pisces in the second. Yeah. It's actually well, Jupiter doesn't like to be in the second, but having Pisces ruling your second house, you must be what are you? You're a you have Pisces ruling your second house. You're Aquarius rising? Yeah. Um oh yeah, a lot of Aquarius risings because that Pisces in the second, they are prone to alcoholism as well and fatty liver. So I will let you know that. But yeah, it's actually pretty blessed to have Jupiter ruling your second. But also, but also, but also, um, Aquarius rising is a really sensitive sign. And you know, Aquarius rising can have a little bit of a hard time with work and jobs for a few different reasons. First is they have Scorpio in the 10th house. So they don't get along with bosses, or bosses can betray them or deceive them, or they can have weird. Aquarius rising is a right. The reason why Aquarius rising is always fighting authority figures and they're always rebelling against authority figures, and the reason why Aquarius rising does not like their dad, and they'll typically, you know, they'll have a very tense relationship with their dad. This is Aquarius's. This is Aquarius. It could be Moon, Sun as well. It's because they have Scorpio in the 10th house of the father, and they have Cancer in the 6th house of jobs. And the moon moves really fast. So the fact that they have the moon ruling the sixth and they have Mars, Scorpio ruling the 10th is like it makes work and jobs kind of like difficult for Aquarius risings, you know? That's why a lot of them they prefer to work for themselves, they prefer to work from home, they'll have some kind of strange job, or even Aquarius will have a job where they work overnight and they work by themselves, you know? Specifically Aquarius rising though. Specifically Aquarius rising. Okay? Specifically. So yeah, anyways, so going back to what I was saying, we were talking about Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces rising, and Jupiter going into houses 2, 6, and 10 for you guys. This can look like expansion or growth when it comes to your work, your job, your career field. You can also be starting a new career in a way where you have more respect or you have more autonomy or more freedom. Okay, for Pisces, Scorpio, Cancer rising. Okay. Jupiter is a great protector, though. So if you are a water sign rising and you're concerned about layoffs, Jupiter will protect you from being laid off a lot of times. You know, Jupiter, he's the great preserver, which is one of the his significations in astrology or in or I'm sorry, in Vedic astrology. So Jupiter is looked to as a planet that keeps and sustains things, which is really interesting. And this is not something that Western astrologers understand about Jupiter, you know? Um, Jupiter is he's the retainer and he's the sustainer. And so when people have a strong Jupiter or they have a good relationship with Jupiter, they're also good at saving money. Their money stays. And you know, when people have a little bit of a weak Jupiter, a challenged Jupiter, they can have a really bad relationship with money, or even they can make money, but then it can come and go very, very quickly. Yeah. Yeah, we're just talking about Jupiter. I'm not talking about the South Node yet. I'm not talking about the South Node's ingress into Leo. The South Node will bring some complications. I will tell you guys this right now. And then, you know, once the South Node and Jupiter go into Leo together, you know, Jupiter goes into Leo this at the end of this month on the 29th, but then the South Node is going to be going into Leo next month around I think around the last 10 days of July. There's definitely going to be some shifts and some changes for some people. And the South Node will complicate things. Okay, I will tell you. The South Node's going to complicate things. You know, the South Node brings endings and loss, and the South Node can bring karmic situations where we literally our life gets thrown on the wheel of fortune, and we just, you know, it's we're either going to come out of it in a more exalted position with more success, with more recognition, with more opportunity, or we're going to come out of it like, damn, what the hell was that? Oh my God. You know what I did actually last night? I my looked at Venus retrograde 8 years ago in Scorpio because I was like, let me go and take a look at what was happening back then. And I also looked at my reverse nodal return that happened when the nodes were last in Pisces and Virgo. And at that time, I was going through my Saturn return. And at that time, I was going through a really, probably the most tumultuous and traumatic relationship experience in my life. The North Node was in Virgo and the South Node was in Pisces. And I looked at the chart and I was like, oh my God, Chiron was in Pisces in my rising sign. And like that year, I was going through it. I was going through it. And it was like I got hit by the eclipses and my Saturn return. And it's so crazy because I went back to, I was reflecting on that period and then what I recently endured with the eclipses going through Pisces and Virgo through my first and my seventh. And I had similar relationship stuff happen again. But this time around, I was way more prepared and I knew better. So I didn't let it escalate and I didn't get all wrapped up into the bullshit like I did 9 years ago. Yeah, this so the last time the nodes were in Pisces and Virgo were actually, I'll tell you right now. It was actually in 2016. 16, yeah, 9 years ago. Yeah, 2016. We've been live for about 45 minutes now, since about 10:30. Yeah. And it was the most traumatic relationship that I've ever been through at that time. It was also my Saturn return. And it's crazy because the same themes came up again during this eclipse cycle in Pisces and Virgo with relationships. Literally, the same man showed up. A man with Leo Virgo with Leo combination of Leo Virgo placements. And it was, I swear to God, I was going through the same thing again. He had somebody else. He was already in a relationship. Okay. He was trying to like get with me, even though he had another person. It was literally when I tell you guys, it was like the same thing happening again. It was the same thing happening again. It was no, I was like, what? I was like, this is crazy. Time is literally repeating itself. Do relationships that start during Saturn return and reverse nodals last? Well, that's between the ages of 27 to 30, 31, roughly. We go through the eclipses and we go through our Saturn return. This is why 27 and 28 is so hard. This period of our life, 27, 28, 29, 30, is very hard. That age specifically though, like 26, 27, 28, 29, like that window of time is so difficult for so many people because we're going through our reverse nodal return at that time. So the eclipses are hitting us, okay? And we are also going through our Saturn return. Most of us start our Saturn return around that time. A lot of the relationships that start around that time, they have some kind of karma. They usually do not last, okay? They usually come and go very, very quickly. Or also, if we've already been in a relationship up to that point, like let's say we got married when we were like 20, 21, 22, and then like that period comes around, 27, 28, 29. Usually we will divorce or separate, or there'll be some kind of checkpoint in our relationship around that time, right? A lot of people divorce and separate. Around their Saturn return, especially if they got married prior to it. Someone said, I dated a Virgo sun, Leo moon. He basically was trying to date me and another woman at the same time, but like he was transitioning out of dealing with her to deal with me, but didn't tell us. And that happened around 26, 27. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so we went through Pisces, Scorpio, Cancer rising for Jupiter and Leo. All right, the last one is going to be air sign risings: Aquarius, Libra, and Gemini rising. Okay, Aquarius, Libra, Gemini rising. So Jupiter in Leo is activating houses 3, 7, and 11 for you. Okay, these are known as the houses of desire. And when these houses get activated, 3, 7, and 11, whatever we hunger, whatever we're going after, whatever we are seeking, we are getting an extra boost to be able to fulfill those desires. Okay. And it's so interesting because when people do have a strong concentration of planets natally in houses 3, 7, and 11, these people are typically hungry. And the more that they want something, the more likely they are apt to get it. You know, the houses 3, 7, and 11 as the desire houses, they bring fulfillment of desire. Okay. In Western astrology, these are the social houses, these are the community houses. These are the houses of friendship, relationship, partnership, your aunts, your uncles, your best friend, okay, the groups of people that you're with. So for Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini rising, this Jupiter in Leo transit is going to be actually really good for you guys. I think many of you guys are going to be back outside. I think many of you guys are going to be forging new friendships or deeper friendships. I think many of you guys are going to be hanging out with family and friends more. Maybe, you know, you haven't had a social life and your social life is going to be coming back. Another thing that, you know, we're going to be seeing with a lot of Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius risings is kind of like their family life or their love life or even like marriage life, kind of like expanding and growing. You know, so this can literally look like your siblings are having kids, your siblings are getting married, you know, you're getting married, you're having a kid, you know, your friends, you're going to your friend's wedding, you're going to a friend's ceremony or celebration. We're going to be seeing some really cool things happening around houses 3, 7, and 11. This will also bring good outcomes to any kind of educational pursuits, you know. The third house does reflect into the ninth house, you know, so Gemini rising, you know, we have Jupiter in the third reflecting to the ninth. This is really good for travel, for education, for learning, if for schooling, you know, higher education, lower education. You know, if you have a Gemini rising child and let's say they're graduating college and you're like, oh my God, I want them to get into a good school. Well, guess what? Jupiter will get them into a good school. The third house reflects into the ninth for Gemini rising. Also, if you're a Gemini rising and you want to do any kind of like local travel with Jupiter and Leo, you may be vacationing somewhere you've never been before. You know, Jupiter could be about a long distance vacation or long distance travel thing that you've never done that you're gonna do. Okay, so for Libra, Jupiter and Leo is gonna have you outside. Libra is a sign that likes to be outside, but Libra, the 11th house, you get lucky with strangers. Okay? You get lucky with friends. All right? Also, for any Libras that are starting a business or you let's say you want to start a business, you want to get into a business partnership, Libra rising, Jupiter and Leo, good time to start a business. Start your advertising, start marketing, start putting yourself out there, things like this. Also, there's going to be a shift and change with friendships. You know, I do think Libra is going to be making friends that are maybe more spiritual, or maybe they're more wise, or maybe they have a gift or present for you. Libra, also the single ones, because all of you Libra risings are looking for a husband, always, or a wife, you know, or something in between, you know, if you're gender nonconforming or yeah, you know, Jupiter and Leo could bring in a partner or a friend, or can bring in a partner through a random experience when you're hanging out at a party, when you're out in the world, just doing your thing, you know. So I think Libra, you really want to make yourself available to the world with Jupiter and Leo. You want to go outside, you want to have fun, you want to connect with people because you never know where opportunity could present itself, you know, or where a new job or where a new money making opportunity or whatever could show up. Okay. We're going to be seeing some Libra risings having kids as well because, you know, Jupiter in and the 11th reflects into the 5th. This is a very important thing to remember. The opposite house also gets activated with transits. A lot of people don't know this because that's a Vedic astrology thing. You know, Vedic astrology says the strongest aspect of the transit is the oppositional aspect. And whenever a transit's happening in one house, the house that gets activated the like in equal measure is always the opposite house. Okay. But yeah, this is also a love transit for it's gonna be a love transit for Libra. Libra, you guys are gonna be meeting lovers and stuff. Okay, the last one is Aquarius rising. Jupiter in the seventh. That's a business partnership transit. That's a marriage transit. That is an engagement transit. That's a meeting a lover transit. Jupiter in the seventh is also going to be having Aquarius rising, feeling a lot more optimistic, a lot more positive. I will tell you, Aquarius, there could be some shifts or changes to the body. You can gain weight with Jupiter in the seventh opposing your first. If you're already married or you're already in a relationship, your partner may gain weight. Okay. Also, this Jupiter in the seventh will be really good for your business life. So if you are someone that does one-on-one connections, one-on-one contracts, one-on-one business partnerships with others, Jupiter in the seventh will be really good for one-on-one business partnerships. So if you or one-on-one client work, Jupiter in the seventh will be really good at bringing in new clients, bringing in new business. We don't the seventh house, we think of the seventh house as a very isolated house when it comes to like oh, it's just like love and marriage. But no, the seventh house is the house of business as well. It's the house of the merchant. So you'll see when people have a strong seventh house, they will be salespeople. They'll get into marketing and advertising. They will do contracts for different businesses. So they'll go ahead and sell contracts, or and they'll also do one-on-one client work. This is a very important thing. You'll see a lot of people with a seventh house focus. They do one-on-one sales they're like really good at sustaining relationships. So like those companies where people need to like host an account, like they have an account and that account always needs to be serviced and they're always like selling new products to that account and whatever. That's a seventh house thing. Okay. Seventh house is also really good for people that are therapists or people that want to get in psychology, any kind of one-on-one work, any kind of when you are sitting down with one person, and there's another person on the other side of you, that's what the seventh house is about. Okay. It's really good for business. It's really good for sales. It's really good for presentation. You know, people that are seventh housers are great at communication. They're great at getting people to say yes. They're great at building business with others as well. And they have a knack for, they have a knack for business. So I just want you guys to think about this Aquarius rising with Jupiter going into your seventh because it just, don't limit the opportunity of Jupiter in the seventh as, oh, that's just going to be maybe me getting into a relationship and me, finding a divine partner. Yes, but don't leave money on the table because guess what? That could also be a really good money making transit for you if you're willing to put yourself out there. I'm connected in my local parks to be a paid yoga instructor. That's amazing. Yoga instructor, I want my massage therapist license. You should get it. Yeah, you should get it. You should definitely get it. So yeah, Aquarius, Jupiter activating the seventh. I love that for you guys. Okay. Also, and if you want to kind of know how these transits are going to show up in your particular life, in your particular chart, book a reading with me. Okay. I will blow your mind. I promise you. I will blow your mind. I will show you things in your chart that no one else has ever seen. I will show you things in your chart, and you're going to be like, oh, what? How did you know? All the time. Okay, so let's dive into the astrology of the week. I just wanted to give you guys that little tidbit around Jupiter and Leo, what to expect, and we'll talk more about that again. I was just wanted to share that with you guys. I was feeling generous this morning, feel like I wanted to share. Blew my mind, and of two friends, Louis goes off. You do need to know the exact time you were born, or if you have an idea, that would be what's best. I just want money and a flexible schedule. She want with the soft life, huh? We all deserve the soft. We should not be working this hard, honestly. Well, I don't know about y'all, but y'all should not be working as hard, honestly. I'm not gonna include myself in that because do I work really hard? I don't think so. Yeah, no, not nowadays. I used to when I had a 9 to 5 job. I worked my butt off. I would have 9, 10 hour days. Okay, but you know what? You know, God has blessed me, and God decided, you know what, Louis, that hard working life of yours, you don't need that. I got something better for you. Here, let me go ahead and have you do this instead. Something that's more in alignment with your mission, with your goals, and with your dreams. Something that you can actually help and serve people in a little bit of a deeper level, and you can tap into your magic. Here, you can go and do this instead. Okay. Um, but it's so funny though, because sometimes what's the funniest thing is like when I'm doing a chart reading for someone and they have like a lot of sixth house, 10th house stuff, and they're a lot of Earth, Virgo, Capricorn, and they're like, oh, I don't want to work, and I'm like, I'm sorry, baby, but guess what? Your chart, you're here to work. Oh my goodness. Some people are here to work. I'm sorry. You're here to work. You don't like it, but hey, welcome to Earth. Well, you could talk to God about that, okay? You could talk to your spirit team about that, all right? Okay, let's go over these. We've been here for about an hour now. We haven't even talked about the astrology of the week, so let's kind of refocus. I've been a little bit everywhere. Okay. So Mercury slowing down to retrograde. Okay. This Mercury retrograde is going to be very important for cardinal signs specifically. If you're Libra, Aries, Capricorn, or Cancer, because it's going to be conjoining you, squaring you, or opposing you. This Mercury retrograde, especially if you have those in those rising signs, you're probably going to really feel it, and there could be something that you have to address or something you have to go back to and figure out if you're cardinal. Okay, so I just want you guys to think about what has been happening in your life, last week, the week prior, really since the beginning of June. Like, what has been going on in your life since the beginning of June? Because that's where the Mercury retrograde can undo some things or can have you revisit or revise some things that you've already gone through since the beginning of June. Yeah, literally. Mercury went into Cancer on June 1st. So, there's going to be some echoes of this month next in July with the retrograde, you know. So, let's say you made plans for something this month. Let's say you already committed to something this month that's happening in July, okay? Like let's say you agreed to a party on the 5th of June, you accepted an invitation to a party that's happening in July. Do not be surprised if the Mercury retrograde changes the date of that party that you agreed to in June, okay? Or something may come up. It may get delayed or there may be some change of time, something like this, okay? I just want you guys to think about this, okay? Mercury retrograde is also going to be bringing back old job opportunities for certain people. Oh, We'll do a Mercury retrograde live next weekend when I'm back in California. Okay, we'll do a Mercury retrograde live right as Mercury's going retrograde, and we'll do a live where I kind of go through maybe the rising signs by element, or maybe the signs to kind of let you know where the Mercury retrograde is going to happen in your chart and how it can show up for you. Okay, so we'll do that next week. Um, but yeah, and then Jupiter, like I was saying, is wrapping up in Cancer. So, this week, next week, we're going to be seeing some closures, some ending, some completion, and some new beginnings. When Jupiter transit signs, he loves to start and begin a new chapter for us. So I just want you guys to be very mindful of what is Jupiter coming, what is he bringing to a close in your life, or what is kind of like fading away or fading out. It may be a very gentle release. It may not be this tragic sudden thing because that's not how Jupiter works. Jupiter is very gentle. He's very soft with the way he transitions us into the next timeline. And he's very enticing. He tries to entice us as well. He's like, here, I have something better for you. Come over here. So a lot of times it's funny because a Jupiter transit, if someone's in an unhappy marriage, Jupiter will bring them a lover, that it treats them better and will be like, hey, I'm not going to force you to leave your toxic marriage, but I have this nice, beautiful man over here for you that will treat you better. So what are you going to do? You know what I mean? Where Saturn will not do that. You know, Saturn will make you go through a terrible divorce because, your partner is, spending all the money, or your partner's controlling or domineering, or your partner's just being mean or abusive. Saturn is kind of mean and he's kind of tough with the way he brings endings, but Jupiter is he tends to be very nice and great, very graceful, and he tends to be more enticing in the way that he tries to instigate change in our life. Okay. Um, okay, let's talk about the astrology of the week, though. We've already been here for an hour and we haven't even talked about the weekly astrology. So, um, we start off the week with the moon in Libra. And what's so fascinating, and also we're in the summer solstice. Okay, so let me tell you this week. I want to give you guys some insight into this week and how you can use the energies of this week to your benefit. Okay, so the summer solstice yesterday, we when the sun ingressed into Cancer, it ingressed into Cancer at 0 degrees right as the moon went into Libra at 0 degrees. And this is a waxing square. This is the first quarter moon from our new moon that we are in. Okay. So, why is this important? We had the summer solstice yesterday. Right, with the ingress of the sun moving into the cardinal sign of Cancer, right? The moon went into Libra, which is also a cardinal sign, which rules over the sun in Cancer, and they're squaring each other. What is it saying? This is saying whatever you put your attention into right now, whatever you put your focus into, whatever you pour your money into, whatever you bring life into, it's going to expand and grow right now. Okay? And whatever you're going to initiate or whatever you're trying to initiate, it will expand and grow right now. Okay. So, what's super important about this week? If you have any kind of creative projects that you've abandoned, get back to them. Start working on them again. Okay. If you have any kind of, let's say you want to be active on social media, you want to, market, advertise yourself on social media at some point, get back to creating content and sharing that content on social media this week. Okay, when we are when we are in a summer solstice week, we are the sun, right? What is the summer solstice? It's literally when the sun is standing still in the sky, and it's the longest day of the year, where and we're in Cancer season. Summer solstice initiates us into the season of the sun, right? The sun owns summer. And what is the sun about? The sun is about confidence, it's about vitality, it's about taking up space and shining, it's about your creative expression, it's about your joy, it's about your inner child, it's about your children, it's about your father, right? Also, the sun rules over the father. It's so crazy because yesterday, on the day of the summer solstice, where the sun is the strongest in the sky, right? Where the sun is the most powerful on the day of the summer solstice. It is the longest day. Who were we celebrating yesterday? We were celebrating our fathers, the sun, God the Father. You know, the Son of God, Jesus, the Son of God. What are we thinking? What are we saying? Come on now. You don't have to think that deeply to understand that all the religions that are based off solar worship, Muhammad, Jesus, okay, Krishna even, they are all archetypes of the sun. We've been worshiping the sun since the beginning of time. Cultures going all the way back have a very different names for the sun. The sun is actually what we're worshiping, right? The sun is the king, is the Lord. Right? And what does the sun ask us to do? The sun asks us to shine brightly, to take up space, to be confident, and to share our creativity, to share our light with the world. We've been given this task. It's part of our responsibility as human beings to share ourselves with the world, to share our creativity, to put ourselves on display, but to also be resilient in doing so. Because why? When you put yourself out there in the world, when you share your creativity, when you share your talent, when you share, your light with the world, your light is going to trigger what? Other people's shadows, other people's darkness. It's going to trigger other people's shame. It's going to trigger other people's envy. It's going to trigger other people's jealousy, right? So in putting ourselves out in the world and kind of like shining and taking up space and being in a public platform or even assuming a leadership position, we also got to be, because that's what Leo is about in the sun. The sun's also about, being the CEO, being the boss, being the leader. We have to also be prepared for the blowback and the judgment and the attacks that we are going to get by being in the public eye. You know, this is why not all of us are built to be celebrities. Okay, not all celebrities are built to be celebrities. We see a lot of celebrities suffer because of the scrutiny that they endure and the attacks that they endure by being in the public. You know, when you are in the public, you are held to a different standard. This is very important to think about because a lot of us we think, oh, I want to be famous, I want to be popular, I want to be recognized. I want no, you're not ready psychologically and emotionally. You're not ready. Many of you, you think you are, but you're not. Because once you get there, all of a sudden you have haters, all of a sudden you have people attacking your character, all of a sudden you have strangers that know nothing about you making all these judgments and making all these criticisms about you and attacking your work and attacking your creativity and attacking your family. You got to be prepared for that. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with being a celebrity, that comes with being a king or queen, that comes with being a boss or a leader. You get held to a higher standard in some way, right? And we see this with a lot of celebrities. They're given very, very little grace, you know? Being resented for having light is tiresome. It is, but you know what? You have to keep on shining because, right, you're meant to illuminate and inspire and bring joy into the lives of those that you're meant to inspire and bring light and bring joy into, right? Those like there is someone that is here to see you and connect with you for everybody, right? And so with the summer solstice yesterday and with the beginning of Cancer season, I want you guys to really think about what can I pour life into? What can I pour energy into? What can I pour money into? What can I pour resources into in my life that I want to grow? And maybe it's not something tangible or physical. Maybe it's something within yourself. Maybe you want to work on being more confident. Maybe you want to work on being more self-assured. Maybe you want to kind of figure out who you really are. So you kind of need to get silent and separate yourself from your friends and from your family to really get to know yourself a little bit, you know? Someone asked what to do when you have very contrasting placements when it comes to wanting to be seen or allowing yourself to be perceived. Um, it's you have to work at it. You have to try. You have to put yourself on display and you have to work through the discomfort, you know? And I see this a lot when people have like a son in like houses 4, 8, and 12, or they have a son in like the hidden houses, second house, fourth house. These are hidden houses, 4, 8, 12, 2, when people have the sun in those houses, they don't really want to shine or take up space or they want to avoid leadership positions, Um, and it also starts with the father. And it's crazy because this is something that I've talked about before, where our relationship with the son has a lot to do with our relationship with our father. This is very true. People that have wounded relationships with the father tend to be tend to struggle with confidence and identity. Like if you don't know who your dad is, you don't really know who you are, partially. Because the son in our chart is our father, our biological father. And a lot of people that have a disconnected relationship with their dad, they also have a disconnected relationship with their self. May not be aware of it, right? So, and they project that disconnect onto other men in their life as well, especially women. When women have a weak son or a son that's in a challenging house, and so we see a lot of women struggle with confidence and self-assuredness, or they'll even stand behind a more confident partner or stand behind more confident people, um, because of that wounded relationship with their own son. So, if you have a sun placement that's very challenging, like you have it in the eighth or the 12th, or the fourth, right? Or you have it debilitated, it's in Libra and Aquarius or something, or you have Saturn aspecting your sun with an opposition or square or something. There's a lot of different sun complexes. There's a lot of different ways that the sun could be afflicted in our chart. You really have to dive in deep and you have to really forgive your father. You got to work through your relationship with men. You got to figure out who you are underneath kind of like the trauma and the disconnect of the sun, and you got to work on pouring energy into your sun placement so that it could shine the way that it's meant to. The other thing is not everyone's here to be in the limelight, and not everyone here is here to find comfort in being in the limelight. Sometimes people are here to shine behind closed doors, you know? And this is one of the things I see with 8th house, 12th house sun people. They actually shine the best when they are behind the scenes. They feel the best. They feel the most confident. They feel like themselves when they are, when they're the producer, when they're the stage director, when they're behind the camera of the film being made. Not everyone is meant to be in the limelight. Not everyone is here to be famous. Okay. Not everyone is here to be, a public speaker and to take the stage. And we could see that in a chart. And sometimes we're going against the natural predisposition of our chart. We're trying to do things that our chart don't indicate or that our chart is kind of trying to steer us away from. You know what I mean? In some type of way. So it's also kind of getting to know our chart to find where we are most comfortable, to find the type of work or the type of passion or mission or whatever that we find comfort in or that will suit us based on our chart's needs. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense? So I'm not gonna tell someone that's a son of the eighth. I'm not gonna tell them, oh yeah, just get on social media, start sharing yourself. Like no, I'm gonna tell them it's probably best for you to build individual one-on-one client relationships and to build your own little private community. You know, where people need to pay for access, or you start really small. So I think eighth house, 12th house people, they work better in spaces where there's kind of like a cult-like type of feel or like an exclusivity to the group. You know what I mean? So like if let's say you're an eighth house spiritual practitioner, what's better for you? Like let's say you're an eighth house green witch or you're an eighth house psychic or tarot person, right? It'll be better for you to have an exclusive private community that people pay to have access to, and that where you develop deep, closer bonds to people within that community, and then you slowly bring people in and it grows and it expands, right? Being on social media and having 400, 500,000 followers might be too overwhelming for you if you're an eighth houser or a 12th houser, you know? Because you work more in the spaces of intimacy and one-on-one connection, right? Some people are here to be these big, massive messengers where they're here to kind of like send a big old message to the masses, but not everybody. 12th house, 8th house people are here to work deeply, one on one with people, help individual people transform and change, right? We all have our place. We all are here to do work differently. Some of us are here to work on a very massive scale. Some of us are here to work with people and help people on a very micro scale. And we got to be very aware of this, because you know, sometimes what we think is best for us or what we think would benefit us or how we think we should be showing up in the world is very different than what our chart is telling us. And then when we honor our chart, we feel more fulfilled, we feel more happy, and then all of a sudden we can let go of the burden of, oh, I gotta put myself in public and I gotta, put myself on display and things like this. Does that make sense? That's why our birth charts are so beautiful. And once we really understand our birth charts, we can really get into alignment with them so that our life is fulfilled. But also our life is fulfilled in the way that it's meant to for us. What is fulfilling for us may not be fulfilling for someone else because why? We all have a different chart. Okay. Right? Yeah, but Aquarius rising is a rising sign that doesn't. Someone said, "Oh, I have an Aquarius rising, so I'm here to help the public." But Aquarius rising has Scorpio in the 10th house. So Aquarius rising is not trying to be seen. Actually, Aquarius rising is a very private rising sign, right? Because of Scorpio in the 10th house of public image. I don't want to be seen. I'm trying to hide, or I'm trying to work behind the scenes. You know what I mean? So, we got to take a look at the sign that rules the 10th house. If the 10th house sign is a very private sign, then we may not want to be, and this is also a Libra rising thing. The Libra rising has Cancer in the 10th house, right? Libra rising is not trying to be seen as well. Libra rising is trying to work from home. It's so funny because this is also why a lot of Libras become stay-at-home moms, or they become, they end up kind of like having a partner that takes care of them, where they don't have to work. And their career is literally being a domestic person. Libra rising has Cancer in the 10th house. So maybe their work is literally either working at home or being a wife or being a mother. I see it very common with Libra rising, I know I have a lot of Libra rising clients that are full-time moms and they're full-time housewives because of the Cancer in the 10th. Does that make sense? So yeah. Okay, let's continue to talk about the astrology of the week, okay? We've been just kind of I've been answering questions, and there's not a lot going on this week with the astrology. So this is why we're taking a little bit of a different approach this week, where I'm just answering questions and being a little bit more free flowing with it. All right, so we start off this week with the moon in Libra, and this is our first quarter square from our or this is the first quarter moon, I'm sorry, and this is the square where the sun is squaring the moon. So the moon in Libra is ruled by Venus and Leo. And Venus in Leo is in the 11th house away from the moon in Libra. So this is actually a really positive transit for friendships and social connections today and tomorrow. Pay attention to who you meet, pay attention to who you're talking to. There could be the energy of affection and admiration and connection and romance in the air with the moon in Libra, sextiling Venus. What I noticed yesterday when the moon went to Libra is I immediately got lazy. Libra is a sign that's, I have Mars in Libra and it's my eighth house. So right when the moon went to Libra yesterday, I was like, oh, I don't want to do anything. I felt like an energy dip. But yeah, the moon in Libra can have us feeling like we're more sensual or more creative. We want to do art, we want to go shopping, spend money, want to indulge, we want to go ahead and, have a nice dinner, go out on a date. I think today, tomorrow will be really good days to go on a date, or to ask someone out for a date when the moon's in Libra, sextiling Venus. But what I will say though is today, there could be a hard stop that we experience today. There could be some kind of, we had an Aries man pass. So did you guys see Clive Davis passed away? Um, because the moon's in Libra opposing Saturn in Aries. I was looking at Clive Davis's chart. Clive Davis, the music mogul, and he has Saturn going through Saturn's going through Aries right now. And Saturn is literally on his sun right now. Right now. Right now. So Clive Davis has a 14-degree Aries sun, and Saturn is literally at 13 degrees Aries, right on his sun. Why is this important? Because the sun is the planet of life force. The sun is the planet of vitality. The sun is the dictator of our life. He gives us life energy. So if we're an elderly person and Saturn is, coming for our sun, that can literally show up as a health crisis, or that can literally show up as someone passing. When the sun, especially if we have a weak heart already, or if we're older. So it's so crazy because the moon in Libra, literally opposing Saturn today, opposing Clive Davis's sun. The moon in Libra is like, all right, your sun is setting, you know? And his heart stopped. I'm sure his heart stopped. That's pretty much what happened. I think his heart just gave out. He probably passed away in his sleep as well. Wouldn't be surprised. Another thing I noticed is Clive Davis has a 24-degree uh, Mercury in Aries. And if you take a look, where is Mercury right now? Anyone know where Mercury's at right now? He is at 24 degrees Cancer. So Clive Davis, Mercury is actually squaring his natal Mercury. Exactly. And that's also giving the rhythm of the heart stopping for me, you know. Mercury has a lot to do with the pulsating of the body. When it comes to health astrology, Mercury is your body's pulses, the pulsing of the body, the pulsing of the heart, the electricity. So Mercury and Saturn actually, interestingly enough, have a lot to do with the electricity of the heart and the electricity of the body. And sometimes, when people have an afflicted Mercury, especially if they have Mercury combust the sun, the electricity in the heart there will be an issue. So this is when people have heart murmurs, or when people have like a double beating heart, or they have like um, a rhythm, an electrical beating of the heart where the rhythm is off. It's not like consistent. You always want to look for Mercury afflictions. You always want to look for Mercury too close to the sun, combust the sun within 10 degrees, or Mercury retrograde, or also Mercury in a getting harsh aspects from other planets like Saturn or like Uranus. Someone will have a heart issue. Mercury and the sun are very closely tied together if you think about it. And think about the organs that are around the heart that are ruled by Mercury, right? The heart is ruled by the sun. Mercury is the planet closest to the sun. So what are the organs that are closest to the heart? The lungs, which are ruled by Mercury, and the upper intestine, which is ruled by Mercury. So the upper intestine is Virgo and the lungs are ruled by Gemini, and they literally sit around the heart. Because why? Mercury is orbiting the sun. Mercury orbits our heart. So the organs, the Mercury ruled organs, are literally situated around the heart. Astrology is very literal, especially when you start to understand medical astrology. It's like the way the body is organized and broken down is in alignment with how the planets are organized. It's very fascinating, actually. It's really cool. But yeah, so we were talking about Clive Davis. So yeah, with today with the moon opposing Saturn, there can be some endings. There can be some losses, some tragedies. There can be some setbacks, some delays. Today, there can also be obligations that we have to fulfill. There could be tasks that we have to fulfill. There could be deadlines that we have to confront today with the moon opposite Saturn. A lot of people are feeling this though, because Mercury's slowing down to retrograde. So a lot of people are feeling like they got to get something finished or get something done or get something completed. There's this energy of this week, I'm running out of time. I'm running out of time for various things. It's like, oh, I'm running out of time to find a new job. Oh, I'm running out of time to move. Oh, I'm running out of time to, pay this thing off. We can feel this sense of urgency that we're running out of time this week because Mercury's slowing down to go retrograde. And Mercury's telling us, you got to get this thing done or finished before I start going backwards. Because once I start going backwards, it's going to be a lot harder to finish it or complete it, or you may just not be able to meet the deadline. So just be mindful of that this week, okay? Or this week, but also today with the moon opposite Saturn, the moon in Libra opposite Saturn, okay? So the moon's gonna be in Libra. If you're a cardinal sign, also, today, tomorrow is kind of activating for you. If you're Cancer, Libra, Aries, or Capricorn, okay? Um, the moon in Libra opposing Saturn, Mercury slowing down retrograde could be activating and getting things happening in your life and in your chart. Okay, if you're a cardinal sign, especially if you have a cardinal rising. So then the moon goes into Scorpio, and so tomorrow the moon's gonna be in Cancer. Tomorrow, I'm sorry, the moon's gonna be in Libra tomorrow. My bad. Sorry, Tuesday, June 23rd. The moon's gonna square Jupiter and square Mercury. Tomorrow, I will tell you this. Okay, if Jupiter has a gift for you, if Jupiter has something that he wants to like grow or expand in your life, if Jupiter has an opportunity for you, it could come tomorrow. As the moon is separating from the square to Jupiter and the moon, or coming into that square and then separating from Jupiter and Mercury. So Tuesday and Wednesday, we can see some really cool, beautiful, auspicious type of things happening or coming in for people. If you're waiting for a letter, you're waiting for a phone call, you're waiting for a yes, you can see that yes show up tomorrow and Wednesday morning as the moon is hitting this square to Jupiter and Mercury. And the square the separating square from Jupiter and Mercury, because squares require action and decision making in activity. They propel us into, they tell us squares have you do something. If you want something, if you want a positive something from Jupiter, you may have to do something. You may have to sign something. You may have to agree to something. You may have to go somewhere. You may have to reach out to someone. There may be some point of action associated with the blessing or the opportunity. Okay? Tomorrow and Wednesday, especially if you are a cardinal sign, if you have Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, or Aries. Also, if you are a water sign, I will tell you, if you're a Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, Jupiter is wrapping up in Cancer, and he may leave you a little blessing, a little gift, a little magical opportunity. He may open up a window for you. So I want you guys to be very mindful of what's happening this week and next week as Jupiter is wrapping up in the sign of Cancer, because he's more than likely going to be leaving some gifts and some presents for people before he goes into Leo. Okay. And also, what is ending and what is opening? What chapters of your life are coming to a close? What chapters of your life are about to open or start or begin? If you are feeling this call to launch or begin or start something or to go in a new direction, you really need to listen to that call right now. Okay. Um, Jupiter is a very fast moving planet. And one of the things I talk about with Jupiter's blessings is he opens up the window and the window may not be open for that long. It's kind of like with the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, the wardrobe door is opening up for 30 minutes and you need to jump in. You need to take that leap of faith now. Because that when that wardrobe door closes, that magical world that you could have experienced, it may pass, you know? But I'm also a firm believer that whatever's meant for us is meant for us, and whatever's meant for us is meant for us. But also, we do have to take conscientious action towards the greater things. This is a big lesson from Jupiter. The biggest test for us is free will. And I cannot express this enough. In For us to have a healthy relationship with divination, with astrology, and with tarot, we also need to have a strong spiritual foundation, and we also need to incorporate these things into our life philosophy, right? And if we have a fate-based life philosophy, it's not good, because you know what? Fate-based life philosophy totally discredits our agency and our ability to actually dictate our life. Free will is the most important thing that we have. It's the most important power that we've been given. It's the biggest test that we have. What are you going to do with the choice that you've been given? And many of us, we make very small little choices when we should be making these big, epic choices. We should be challenging ourselves to make choices that are hard and difficult and that push us to be better and do better, that challenge us to expand and grow. But we like to make these little, small, tiny little choices because we're afraid. We're afraid of our potential. We're afraid of failure. We're afraid of money. I don't know why some of y'all are so scared of money. It's the weirdest thing to me. Why are you scared of money? Ah, money loves you. Money wants to be in your pocket. Money wants to play with you. What are you afraid of? Why are you so scared of money? It's crazy to me. Money is not scary. Let me tell you, fear repels. Okay? Don't be afraid of the things that you want to attract. If you want to attract money, don't be afraid of it. If you want to attract love, don't be afraid of it. Okay? If you want to attract success, don't be afraid of it. Okay? You can't be afraid of these things. Okay? Fear is a repelling energy. It pushes things away. Okay. Oh, the one big thing that's happening this week, actually, we already in it. It just happened. Chiron and Taurus. I want to talk to you guys about this, and then we're gonna keep going with the astrology of the week, okay? Um, Chiron and Taurus. I looked back in time to see what previous Chiron and Taurus transits looked like. We had one in 1987. We also had one during the Great Depression. And let me tell you something. Chiron and Taurus literally like clockwork. Chiron and Taurus ingresses us into a period of financial hardship and difficulty. When I was going back in time to see what kind of themes came up with Chiron and Taurus, every one of those periods with Chiron transiting Taurus going back in time, especially the last like 120 years here in the States, has been connected to financial loss, markets crashing, the debt bubble crashing, like it's like the Wall Street crashing. Okay. So I just want to prepare you guys for this period of Chiron and Taurus because the next 7 years of Chiron and Taurus, the karmic collective wound around money and resources, okay, and food, so toxic food, everyone's broke, no one has a job. Like these are themes that are going to be brought to the surface. We're going to have a little bit of the echo of the Great Depression energy, but it's different now because why? We have Pluto and Aquarius. So now we have technology, now we have AI, now we have these billionaires. Pluto is about like massive accumulation of things. So now Pluto and Aquarius is literally these billionaires, trillionaires, well, trillionaire now Elon Musk, right? That have accumulated so much wealth that it's leaving nothing for the rest of us, right? So Chiron and Taurus is really going to expose this deep wound that we have as a society and as a culture around money and how money is not allocated properly. Okay. I will tell you though, Chiron and Taurus will bring up money wounds for you. It will bring up wounds that you have around food and your diet. It'll also bring up wounds around beauty and your looks. Okay. It'll also bring up wounds around your own self-worth, your own self-esteem. It'll also bring up wounds around talent, your skill set, your ability to make money. These are all going to be areas of healing and areas of focus with Chiron and Taurus. And the reason being is because we are entering a period right now where the collective is going to have to confront this energy of like survival and struggle and lack, you know? And just because that's the collective energy, that doesn't mean that we have to be stuck in this, okay? This doesn't mean that we have to be stuck in this. Yeah, we have to get in, like Therese said, we have to get into community and we have to co-create. And we're kind of gonna have to go back to nature a little bit. I think Chiron and Taurus is gonna have us going back to the simple life. I think bartering, I think, community support. I think, getting a stand and selling your products from the front of your house, things like this, more farmers markets, more bartering and trading. Yes, these are going to be ways that we're going to be able to kind of maneuver around this, okay? Maneuver around this. Also, what's going to happen come 2028 and 2029 is guess who also goes into Taurus with Chiron? Saturn goes into Taurus. So, we have Saturn in Aries right now, but we're going to have, 2028, and 2030. We're going to have Saturn and Chiron in Taurus. And I was looking at this and I was like, "Oh my God, this is going to be a period of financial constriction for a lot of us." Okay. If you are going through your Chiron return, if you do have Chiron in Taurus, you have wisdom and knowledge that the collective needs. So if you have Chiron and Taurus natally, you already know how to navigate this Chiron. Hopefully, you've learned a thing or two about your Chiron placement, and you are here to help us as a collective and as a community and as a people get through this period. Okay. Chiron and Taurus people, you have something to offer us in terms of financial education, in terms of healing, in terms of, the body or food. You have some kind of wisdom, some kind of knowledge that we may need right now. And I would really encourage you to go ahead and share that with us. Okay. My bestie has Chiron and Taurus in the ninth house. Yeah, yeah. A lot of you with Chiron and Taurus, you're going through your Chiron return. For a woman as well, Chiron return happens between the ages of 46 to 50, roughly. And this can be about you going through your menopause. Okay. So, yeah. All right. I just wanted to talk about Chiron and Taurus real quick because, Chiron did go into Taurus last week on Friday. And, and yeah, it's definitely going to be illuminating some woundedness that we have collectively around money, resources, beauty, health, the body, productivity, self-worth, things like this. Because on Wednesday, the moon goes into Scorpio, and this is going to be moon Chiron activation, you know? So with Chiron and Taurus, whenever the moon aspects Chiron and Taurus, now the woundedness that's going to be coming up is going to be around money, resources, you know, Taurus things, food, the body, okay? So Wednesday, the moon does take it goes into Scorpio. And with the moon in Scorpio, this is also the sixth house away from our new moon in Gemini. We're on our way to wrapping up our new moon cycle as we build into the full moon that's going to be in Capricorn, which is going to be around, I believe, I think it's the 30th. Let me see. Yeah, I think we have our full moon on the 30th. Let me double check. Hold on. Let me take a look really quick. I'm going to go a week from here. We have a full moon, and that full moon in Capricorn is going to be ruled by Saturn, you know, and these Capricornian full moons can be a little rough. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Oh, it's actually gonna be on 29th. Yeah, it's gonna be on June 29th. We have a full moon in Capricorn. Bye, Therese. Thank you for showing up. Also, if anyone wants to go to Egypt with me and Therese, we're first week of September. We are planning to go see the pyramids, and Therese is going to be sharing some of her divine intuitive wisdom, and we're going to be doing some workshops on intuitive development. So, for those of you that don't know who Therese Turney is, she is an intuitive coach, and she's been doing this for a long time, many, many years, longer than I've been doing what I do. Okay. And she has this beautiful kind of program, I guess, or I would even say it's a method, it's a methodology on building intuition and cultivating intuition in a very practical way. And that's one of the things I love about Therese. You know, she is a Virgo. She's got a lot of Mercury in her chart. I think she's a Gemini rising and she's got Virgo. She's a Virgo. And she take her approach to intuition is very good for those of you that are very mercurial. So if you're very left brained, if you're very logical, very practical, and you're finding it very hard to connect your intuition just because you got so much Mercury, you got such a strong mind, she has a beautiful method called the inner temple of where you literally build your intuition in a mental visual space from the ground up. And it's such a cool thing to go to do. It's such a cool method. And you know, I've gone through her workshop two times now. The third time, I was really busy last. I was gonna do it the third time, but you know, I was really busy last this past month or this the last like 12 months, you know. But anyways, she's gonna be doing a workshop around this. So on when we're in Egypt. So, you know, we're gonna be doing these intuitive exercises on developing your intuition and stuff when we're in Egypt and when we're seeing the pyramids and everything. So if you want to go, if you're able to go, definitely reach out to me. And you know, we'll see if it's a good fit. We'll see if that's something that, you know, and you get to spend time with me. You know what I mean? I'm a lot of fun, I promise. I am so much fun and I'm always the life of the party. Not always, but I have to be in a certain mood. I'm a Pisces rising, you know, so I get tapped out easily. So I'll be the life of a party for about an hour or two, and then I'm tired and I gotta take a nap. But yeah, you know, it's gonna be a lot of fun. So if you're able to go, please come. We would love for you to come if it's aligned, if it makes sense with your schedule, if it makes sense with your money and everything, please go. Okay. So, anyways, the moon goes into Scorpio on Wednesday, and then that's when things kind of feel a little bit more intense. Um, The moon is fallen in the sign of Scorpio, you know, and it brings up themes around deep, heavy emotion. The beautiful thing though is we have this moment on Wednesday when the moon goes into Scorpio around noontime, noon Pacific time. The moon is going to trine the sun. And the moon trine the sun, especially sun in Cancer, moon in Scorpio, can bring about this big emotional release or this big emotional catharsis. I really do feel like certain people are gonna, like this week with the moon transiting Scorpio Wednesday, Thursday, they can be coming to some kind of emotional completion around something that they've dealt with or something they've been grieving or something they've been mourning. You may feel like you're finally getting over it, or you may feel like you're finally able to put that shit behind you. I do think though that the moon in Scorpio opposing Chiron midday on Wednesday, going to Wednesday night, I do think that there could be some really intense, heavy emotions that come up that need to. Oh yeah, because the moon is square Pluto. So when the moon goes into Scorpio, it's squaring Pluto. It's opposing Chiron. It's in the sixth house away from the new moon. This is giving deep emotion coming out. This is giving a moment of emotional release, a moment of emotional recognition, and kind of like having to purge something or let something go. Okay. Um, the other thing that I'm kind of getting with the moon in Scorpio is this can bring up themes around health, job, daily routine, stuff like this, because it is a sixth house away from the new moon. So, if you're having drama at your job or things like that, just be on the lookout for what happens when the moon goes into Scorpio. Okay, it could bring up some, moon square Pluto, moon opposite Chiron. But you know what? This is a great day to talk to therapists. This is a great day to journal. This is a great day to open up, conversation with people where maybe you want to talk about something deep. Maybe you want to talk about something important. Maybe you want to reveal a secret. Maybe there's something traumatic that you went through and you've been waiting to tell somebody and you're like, I need to get this off my chest. Um, Wednesday would be a good day to do that. Okay. Wednesday would be a really good day to do that. One of the things I always tell people is, our woundedness or our wounded like our woundedness our trauma, it grows in hiding, in shame, in secrecy. The way that we heal trauma a lot of times is through illumination. And what do I mean by this? When we shed light on the things that have hurt us, on the things that we're ashamed of, the things that we feel guilty about, when we air those things out, when we share them with others, when we illuminate them, when we speak truth in them, you know what? It disempowers them. It takes away their ability to hurt us, and that's the bet, and it heals us ultimately, and we get freed from the burden of carrying those things that those traumas, those shames, the things that have happened to us, right? So if you are someone that needs to relieve a burden, emotional burden that you've been carrying by sharing it with someone, by being open, Wednesday is a beautiful day to do that. Okay. I absolutely love this. Healing sometimes feels like a call to isolation. It does, but we don't we can heal in part in isolation, but we also heal in connection, and we also heal in community. And there's some things that can only be healed in connection. Here's one of the things I tell a lot of people that are like, oh, I want to work on myself before I get into a relationship. I want to work on myself because whenever I'm in a relationship, these things come up what I tell them is like, you cannot heal things associated with connection a lot of times unless you are in connection or in a relationship, because the issues and what needs healing is not going to show up until you are in relationship with someone. So this is why someone could be single for 10 years and they can think, "Oh, I've worked on myself and I'm so healed." When it comes to love, and they get into a relationship and all that shit that they dealt with 10 years ago comes right back up again. Because why? There's certain things that can only be healed in connection with others. There's certain pain, certain woundedness that will only reveal itself and show up once you're in a relationship. I want you to think about this because so many people we will delay our well, oh, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. And the universe is saying, well, the only way you're gonna be able to work on this is if you're in connection, is if you're in a relationship, right? So just want you guys to think about that. We have this tendency to like postpone and delay things for ourselves, like, oh, I'll work on that one day, or I'll be ready for this when I'm ready. I'll go ahead and do this. Like, don't delude yourself into that. Don't trick yourself into that, okay? It's really important that, you understand that sometimes the only way to heal or work through something is to put yourself into that situation and to go through it and to confront it. Instead of like delaying and be like, "Oh, maybe one day in the future, I'm not ready yet. I'll be ready then." No, you're ready now. All right? Dig in deep. Throw yourself into the fire. Let's see what happens. Okay. That was really good, by the way. So yeah, so the moon in Scorpio Wednesday and Thursday could definitely bring up some woundedness and trauma and things like this. So I just want you guys to think about that. So we have this other really beautiful moment Thursday night into Friday morning. We have this other really beautiful moment where the moon in Scorpio is forming a trine with Jupiter, who's at 29 degrees. And this is happening Friday morning around 9 a.m. Pacific time, Friday morning. We have this beautiful moment where the moon is separating from a trine with Mercury, and the moon is separating from a trine with Jupiter in Cancer. And even though the moon is fallen in the sign of Scorpio, you know, it rules over Jupiter and it's in this beautiful trine with Jupiter. And so this kind of opens up another window, another door of opportunity, of possibility, and of kind of like a lucky thing. I do feel that this week there may be some kind of lucky, there may be some kind of like lucky opportunity, or there may be some kind of like a window that opens, or something associated with work and jobs for people because of the trine that the moon is making to Mercury and Jupiter, but also when the moon's in Libra today, tomorrow, the moon's going to be squaring Mercury and Jupiter. So it's kind of like double activation of like Mercury and Jupiter. It's kind of giving like a door or a window could open. But let me tell you one thing, okay? Whatever shows up on your doorstep this week, next week, even it could have showed up on your doorstep last week, it may not last or may get revoked, or there may be a going back on things associated with whatever is offered to you, whatever is granted to you, whatever is given to you, or whatever. The reason being is because Mercury, even though he's next to Jupiter, and Jupiter is like, trying to give these last minute gifts or these last minute opportunities before he goes into Leo, um, Mercury's going to retrograde in July. Like, starting on like, right? Starting on the 29th. So do not be surprised if whatever someone offers you or whatever comes in this week, last week, going to next week, don't be surprised if it gets canceled or if it gets taken back. Like Indian giver energy. I don't like that phrase. Where did Indian giver come from? What does that even mean? Oh yeah, we're not going to use that. We're not using that phrase ever again, okay? We're going to use that. We're not using that phrase either. We're going to use reclaimer. Okay, reclaimer. It's possible we can get reclaimed. So Indian giver is a derogatory slang term used to describe someone who gives someone a gift and later wants it back. That is a derogatory term though, so we're never going to use that ever again, okay? It just came to me. But just keep this in mind, okay? That something can be given to us or show up this week, and then it could get canceled, revoked, taken back, or next week when Mercury goes retrograde. Okay, so just keep that in mind, all right? Because yeah, it's just kind of the way the planets are kind of shaking down right now. So, but yeah, the Moon trine Jupiter Friday morning going into Saturday um, can bring us something good. Okay. And then the moon goes into Sag, and then things get really fun. This weekend, I'm gonna tell you, this weekend's looking fun. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. This weekend is looking fun. Looks like people are going on vacation and traveling. Looks like people are partying. Looks like people are going to be going to sporting events or athletic events. Um, Moon's in Sagittarius. Sagittarius, sports, athletics, fun, joy, party. Let's go party, you know? Um, Jupiter's also like at 29 degrees Cancer, So, and Jupiter's ruling over this moon in Sagittarius at this time, right? Isn't this the second Sag full moon? No, we're not going to have another full moon in Sag. The sun's already in Cancer. So once the sun goes into a new sign, since the sun's in Cancer, we're only going to be able to have a new moon in Cancer or a full moon in Capricorn. Okay. We cannot go backwards. We can't go back and do any kind of Gemini, Sag, new moons or full moons. Okay. So Friday around noontime, as the moon is separating from Jupiter, the moon goes into Sag, which is ruled by this 29-degree Jupiter. And then we enter this energy that's very expansive. So I wouldn't be surprised if this weekend people are going to go on vacation or travel, or people are preparing for a long distance journey. This will be a good weekend to plan a travel experience that you're going to be doing for the rest of the year. Okay, but Mercury's slowing down, so he hasn't retrograded yet. So, take advantage of this. Any kind of planning, any kind of scheduling stuff, any kind of appointment setting, any kind of task that you need to get done, this weekend is a really, really good time to get that stuff done before Mercury slows down or retrogrades um, a few days later on the 29th, right? So this is Friday the 26th that I'm talking about. Mercury will start to retrograde 3 days later on Monday. 28th, 29th. Yes. Mercury slows down to retrograde. Yes. So he's already retrograded. He's already retrograde on Monday. And he's going to slow down at 26 degrees and start to retrograde on Monday. So this weekend, if there's any kind of stuff that you need to get done or finished, take advantage of this weekend. Okay. This weekend for me, I'm going to be packed. I haven't packed anything. Okay. I'm not ready to move. I'm moving in 22. I'm moving in 9 days, 10 days. I'm not ready. Okay. She ain't ready to go. She ain't ready to move. She got nothing packed up. Okay. But it's okay. It's okay. I'm good. I'm fine. I'm okay. Gotta just tell myself this. But this weekend's gonna be busy for me with the moon and Sag. You actually need to finish your assignments. Yeah, get that stuff done this weekend, okay? I'm gonna try to get as much done when the moon's in Sag. I'm gonna try to get as much done as possible um, with the pre-packing. At least getting all my little trinket stuff. I just need to get all my little like objects, like my little trinkets. I just need to get all that, like all this little stuff, like the little statues and stuff. That is the stuff that is concerning me the most. Um, I have so much stuff, you guys. I have like little trinkets and little objects and things like this. Like they're everywhere. I just got so many. I don't even want them. Who wants them? Come over here. Someone come over here and take all my stuff. Here, I'll sell it to you. You get a discounted price. What do you want? You want some cards? Do you want some books? Do you want like a Labubu? Here, $10. I'm getting rid of my. I need to get rid of the stuff. I have so much. You want a Labubu? I got quite a few. Make sure to pack them up safely so they don't break it. Bubble wrap. Yeah. Yeah, I got some good wrapping paper. So yeah, so the moon and Sag this weekend, very fun, very exciting, very expansive. A day to look out for like love and romance and social activity is going to be Saturday night and Sunday. Anybody going to a big birthday party or celebration? Anybody going to like a graduation ceremony, a big party or a celebration, a sporting event, a concert this weekend? Saturday, Saturday around noontime, going to Sunday, the moon is going to trine Venus and trine Saturn. We're going to have this beautiful grand trine with moon, Saturn, and Venus on Saturday. And I will tell you this, make sure that whoever you're going with doesn't have a temper problem. If you're going somewhere Saturday and Sunday, and be mindful of people excessively drinking. Okay? The reason why I say this is because this is very hot energy. It's very hot energy. If there are people that get angry when they're under the influence, you just want to monitor those people this weekend because they could get into a fight or an argument. Saturn in Aries, trining the moon in Sag, trining Venus in Leo. This is a lot of heat, a lot of fire energy in the air. Okay. And this can open up the door to people that are a little more aggressive, you know. But it's a trine though, so this is fun. This is fun. To me, this is fun. To me, this is hanging out with old friends or friends that you haven't seen in a long time. To me, this is doing something very active and very physical. Someone said, "Damn, I am going with someone who does have a temper problem." Yeah, yes. You want to just be very strategic in the way that you're managing these people this weekend, people that are prone to excessive heat, um, because there's a lot of spicy energy in the air, you know. Oh, the other thing is Mars is at 29 degrees, and Mars is about to go into Gemini. Oh, yes, and we have our Mars Uranus conjunction coming up, which is actually going to be happening on July 4th next week. So let me tell you guys, oh, Lordy, 29-degree Mars, man, this weekend. 29-degree Mars. Yes, we need, and Mars is approaching Uranus. Okay, so we need to be very mindful of uh kind of like chaotic, violent energy, you know? Not this weekend per se. Mars is at 29 degrees though. And whenever I see a 29-degree Mars, it kind of gives the energy of crisis and panic. It also gives the energy of fires and things. Like, for instance, there's been a lot of fires erupting. Have you guys noticed this? The like in California, there's like a fire that's happening, and there also was a big food warehouse in California, food warehouse Taurus, that caught on fire, Mars and Taurus. And this food warehouse in the middle of LA has been releasing toxic chemicals into the air. And it's literally an expression of Mars and Taurus. You know, Mars and Taurus is the earth burning, you know, nature burning, but also food places burning. You know, we may see some farms catching on fire, farmland catching on fire. That's also Mars and Taurus. Okay. Everglades, Florida has a big fire. Yeah, there's a big fire in the Everglades. Yeah. That's Mars getting to the last degrees of Taurus. Whenever Mars gets to like the critical degree, like 29 0, um, we tend to see an eruption of like violent things, Martian fires, you know, stuff like that. Violent things, violent situations, guns, you know, people getting hurt, people getting into fights, arguments, and also like I said, fires, you know. So we just want to be mindful of this. The Mars Uranus conjunction like is going to be intense. I'm going to tell you guys this right now, you know. I do think that next week is going to be triggering for many people, and it's going to set things off for people. I will say that on a micro level, the Mars Uranus, we'll talk about it more next week as well. I will say on the micro level, on the micro scale, in our individual life, the Mars Uranus conjunction can literally look like arguments with aunts, uncles, extended family, or neighbors. Okay. So, what I will tell you is if you are a mutable sign, Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, or Sag, and you have anything at the early degrees of Gemini, I'm sorry, of Gemini or a mutable sign, the ones that I just mentioned, be mindful of this Mars Uranus conjunction that's building up and that goes exact on July 4th, okay? If you have neighbors that you have bad relationship with, if you have aunts and uncles that or cousins that could be problematic or that could be easily triggered or things like this, just be mindful around the relationships with these people on July 4th, okay? Another thing I will tell you is be careful with kids playing with fireworks on July 4th. Gemini rules the arms, Gemini rules the lungs, Gemini also rules over our fingers. And one of the downloads I got with Mars, Uranus, and Gemini is people having accidents with fireworks and like blowing off their fingers and getting finger injuries and hand injuries and arm injuries and also like breathing in toxic chemicals and having stuff with the lungs, So this is definitely a 4th of July to not let any kids play with fireworks. I would even say if you have Mars Uranus like very strongly showing up in your chart, like if this Mars Uranus is like hitting a lot, let's say you don't have mutable signs in your big three, but let's say you have a mutable stellium. Let's say you have, you know, three planets at the beginning of, Pisces or Virgo, and this Uranus Mars is squaring it. I would say just be mindful with playing with fireworks and, doing anything that's kind of like chaotic or dangerous around July 4th, even 3 days leading up to July 4th and 3 days after July 4th. Mars moves very, very slow, and this Mars Uranus conjunction is going to be in the air um, very strongly next week. It's going to be Saturday of next week, okay? So, not this 27th coming up, but it's going to be the 4th, which is going to be a Saturday. Um, it's going to be the first Saturday of July. Yeah, isn't it crazy how it goes exact on July 4th, like a national holiday? Like it's just, some astrologers are forecasting some kind of attack on American soil. Some astrologers are forecasting some kind of like a crisis, that America's gonna have, where an ally or a treaty that they had, some they go back on it or something. So um yeah, I think this July 4th is going to be very different than the other ones that we've had. I think there can be something really dramatic that happens with the Mars Uranus conjunction. We had the Mars Uranus conjunction 2 years ago in 2024, and that's when Trump was campaigning, and that's when when there was like that assassin, like I mentioned this before. Those of you that you come on my lives regularly, I talked about this maybe last week or the week before, how that day of the Mars Uranus conjunction was the day that Donald Trump had that attempted assassination thing where he ended up getting the thing with the ear. Um, so, Mars Uranus conjunctions tend to bring some kind of big shocking moment in the media, or some big shocking moment with like society or with culture or with leaders and stuff, you know? Last year we had the Texas floods where a lot of kids drowned in the river. Yeah, that was Saturn in Pisces and the North Node in Pisces. I heard something happening in California and to not be in crowds during the 4th of July. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't want to scare anyone. You know what I mean? I don't want to scare anyone, but I also just want to, just forewarn people to be very alert and very aware what's your surroundings on the 4th of July with Uranus and Mars. And I'll talk about this again next week, okay? But this weekend is looking pretty safe and pretty fun though. The moon does make a opposition to Uranus though. On Friday when it goes into Sag, the moon is gonna it's making, it comes into this trine with Venus and Saturn, but it's also making this opposition to Uranus Friday, and then it's also opposing Mars Friday morning. So we just want to be mindful. Friday, can bring some unexpected shifts or changes. There could be a moment of conflict or tension. You could wake up grumpy um, Friday morning and you want to argue with your kids or argue with your spouse or argue with the boss. You know, that could happen. All right. Or you can have an issue with your Starbucks order in the morning on Friday. So just be mindful of that. Um, but yeah, this is gonna be I don't know, this is looking like a very fun weekend though. Even when the moon's at the last degrees of Sag, it's looking like a fun weekend. Jupiter, and also when Jupiter goes into Leo, he builds into this opposition with Pluto. So, I do think there's going to be some kind of explosive thing that happens with leaders and bosses as we go into next week, or as we go into the month of July with Jupiter's ingress into Leo and opposing Pluto. These planets, Venus, we were dealing with our Venus Pluto opposition. Um, But actually, it was pretty auspicious. I noticed the Venus transit has been pretty good for people. It's been a very auspicious transit for a lot of people. There's been a lot of forward movement with relationships and connections, and there's been a lot of people getting engaged and married with Venus and Leo. I've noticed some really cool stuff happening for people with Venus and Leo. They started a new job, got a management position or a leadership position. I have clients who have been benefiting from the transit of Venus and Leo. And I think it's because Venus is making this beautiful trine with Saturn. And I think Venus is kind of, bringing these kind of new long-term things into people's lives because Venus and Leo is making a trine to Saturn and Aries by sign. So it's like, this is why people are like getting engaged or getting married at this time. This is why people are signing contracts for a new job or why people are, you know, uh, committing to things. There's like this energy of commitment to the long term with Venus and Leo trining Saturn and Aries, right? Um, yeah, so that's really nice. I like that. And then the moon goes into Capricorn on Monday, and then that brings us into our full moon in Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn and Aries. It's really interesting because during Cancer and Leo season, we get these full moons that are ruled by Saturn. So even though Cancer and Leo season are like all fun and all joyous and whatever, there tends to be some very hard or difficult things that we have to confront. There's also karmic things that unfold during Cancer and Leo season. And this is because there are full moons that we experience that are ruled by Saturn in both seasons, right? So traditionally, Saturn rules over the sign of Aquarius, and he also rules over the sign of Capricorn. And one of the things that's super important for those of you that are learning astrology, especially if you are tying the signs and the planets to the houses, you always want to look at the traditional rulers before you use modern rulers when delineating a chart or when understanding how houses get activated. Okay, so you always want to use Saturn ruling Aquarius, Jupiter ruling Pisces, and Mars ruling Scorpio before you use Uranus using Aquarius or ruling Aquarius, Neptune ruling Pisces, and Pluto ruling Scorpio. Okay, um, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto are the outer planets. They don't move, very often. They take years to move, right? So they really don't have a lot of say over the ongoing changes that happen in your Aquarius, Pisces, and Scorpio house, the way that Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter have a say of what's happening in those houses. Okay. So, but yeah, so then on Monday, we are in our full moon in Capricorn energy. And the moon has been building energy. The moon is nice and full. So that's why this weekend is going to feel very lively. This weekend is going to feel very energetic. It's going to be very stimulating this upcoming weekend with the moon in Sag because the moon is also building light, right? It's culminating into being full, and then it goes full on Monday, June 29th. And then that is also the day that Mercury goes retrograde, right? And then the day after, Jupiter goes into Leo. So that's why it's like June 29th and June 30th are like really important. These are like big days. June 29th, June 30th. Like next week is going to be a very pivotal week for a lot of people. There's going to be things that they're like starting and they're beginning and they're like going on a new adventure, they're going on a new journey. There's things that they're having to go back with. There's cancellations. There's like, wait a minute, I thought this was going to happen and this shit just fell through and it didn't happen, right? Like, and there's also going to be like a releasing and a closure of things and also kind of like a confrontation of karma because it's a full moon in Capricorn ruled by Saturn, who's in Aries, and this is going to bring up family issues. I will tell you right now, right now. I like this. This feels good. This feels fun. This feels exciting. I'm going to keep doing this. I will tell you right now, though, there's going to be family drama for the 4th of July. I'm going to tell you this right now. Okay? Right now. You know why? It's because the full moon in Capricorn has the ruler Saturn in the fourth house of home and family from it. So I will tell you this. I'm gonna give you guys a forewarning. We're gonna talk about this again next week when we go over the astrology of the week. We're gonna talk about this when we go over the full moon in Capricorn. I'm gonna tell you this right now. Be mindful of starting arguments based on politics, okay? On the 4th of July. Don't bring up, differing beliefs and stuff like that. Unless you're willing to argue and like fight and it's important to you, then you could go ahead and bring it up, okay? But just remember, okay? Especially with elderly family members or elderly people, like leave them alone. They're fixed in their ways. They're not going to change their mind. Their opinions and their politics, whatever, are informed by their own choices and decisions, in their own perspective, whatever. So choose your battles wisely, okay? On the 4th of July, all right? During the full moon in Capricorn. We'll talk about that again, okay? But also people setting new foundations. That's going to be a huge theme with the full moon in Capricorn, is setting new foundations. Someone said, "Do we talk about Tracy Ellis Ross getting pregnant during cancer season from an anonymous donor?" Is she the one with the bulging eyes? Yeah, she is. I don't know. There's something about her eyes that are so unique or that like stand out. She got pregnant? Where's her moon? Oh, she got Leo moon. Yeah, makes sense. I've been saying Leo moons are gonna be having a baby very soon. Jupiter's trying her Mercury. She has Mercury in Scorpio, ruling her fifth house of children. Jupiter in Cancer is in exact trine to her Mercury in Scorpio at 29 degrees right now. She has Sun, Mercury, and Scorpio in the seventh house. She's a Taurus rising, and she has a Leo moon. And I've been telling you guys this. I did a whole post on this a week and a half ago, I think now. People with a Leo moon, people with an Aquarius moon, people with the Sag moon, people with an Aries moon. You're having a baby. You're getting married. You're meeting a lover. Okay. Your mom is something good is happening with your mom. She's getting married. Your mom is remarrying. Okay. You're going to have another daddy. Okay. Because daddy number two or daddy number, I don't know how many daddies you got now. Sorry. Oh my goodness. You're about to have another stepfather. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You're gonna have another stepdaddy. Stepdaddy number three. Okay. You're buying property. Something good's happening. Something good for you. And stirring the pot. I'm talking to you, and you know I'm talking to you too. I'm talking to Lilo right here because this is so funny because she got Leo Moon. Did you tell your kids already that they're getting a new stepdad? Did you tell her? Did you tell your kids that? You better let them know now. You better send them By the way, you got a new stepdaddy coming in. Just so you know, you got a new stepdaddy coming in. Yeah, Leo Moon. Yeah, and it's already like the stage is already being set for these Leo Moon people to have a baby. Makes so much sense It's funny how she got pregnant mysteriously because she's at Mercury and Scorpio. So Tracy Ellie Ross, I guess she's pregnant. Let me put this over here. Oh, there's a claim. Someone's claiming. She hasn't announced it though. But I will not be surprised if it's true because she's definitely having a transit that can indicate pregnancy. So I won't be surprised if it's actually true that she's having a baby or getting pregnant. Yeah, it's allegedly. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's like true because she's definitely having pregnancy transits. Someone said there's no way in hell she's pregnant. She was born in 72, but how old is she? She's 53. Hey, you never know. You never know. You never know. She's 53. Yeah, she's 53. She's almost 50. Yep, yep, yep. All right, my loves. Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. We've been here 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 2.5 hours already. And everybody that bought a badge, thank you so much. My calendar is kind of full right now. I think I'm booked out until like mid-July. So, if you're interested in booking a reading, you will have to wait. You won't be able to get, I don't do like same day readings anyways, because I haven't done same day readings in a long time. My calendar is usually full for a week or two out. So, if you're planning on getting a reading with me, you should definitely try to get in. Also, I just realized this like a few days ago. I just realized that when you guys join my wait list, you're requesting certain days. I didn't know my wait list worked like this. I just thought you joined my wait list and then you would get notified if something became available. I didn't realize that when you guys join my wait list for like a reading on my through my site, that it actually allows you guys to request a day. You should do emergency readings for a premium. No. I'm gonna tell you why I don't like doing emergency readings. Okay, I'm gonna tell you why. It's because they have the energy of panic, and they have the energy of anxiety, and they have the energy of crisis. And it's really hard to get clear, accurate information when someone is in a space of crisis, panic, and high anxiety. The energy of fear, anxiety, crisis, emergency blocks intuition. And for me to be able to read people, I need them to be in a very calm, clear space. Because the way what I'm reading is I'm not only reading like the stars and reading like, getting energy from beyond or getting energy from your higher self or getting energy from, my own guides. I'm not getting information only from there, but I'm also getting it from you. So this is why I do all my readings live. This is why I don't do recorded readings, and this is why I don't do written readings where I'm like typing up a reading for someone like it's 10 to 40 pages and I send. I don't do that. It's because when I'm in when I'm you know doing a session, I'm literally reading you. I'm literally tapping into your energy and I'm picking up your vibes and I'm picking up what spirit is trying to tell you. I'm picking up what your guides trying to tell you, and I'm kind of reading your energy at the same time. I'm obviously using tarot and astrology as tools, but that's exactly what I'm doing. So if I'm trying to read you and you are panicked and you're stressed and you're anxious and you're in crisis, I'm not going to be able to give you a good reading because you are not in a clear, grounded space. This is the reason why I don't do emergency readings. Because every time when I did used to do emergency readings, there would be and all I'd pick up on is panic and crisis and fear. You see what I'm saying? So this is why even for those of you that are want to step into doing this work, I don't recommend that you do emergency readings because emergency readings are usually unless you're very aware of the fact that usually what people are looking for in that moment of crisis with an emergency reading is they're looking for comfort and they're looking for um, someone to acknowledge that particular moment. They're not really looking for an answer a lot of times, And another thing that's really important as, spiritual practitioners and as those of us that do divination like myself, we're not meant to make choices and decisions for people. That's not what we're here to do, you know. We never want to take away people's free will. This is why we shouldn't be telling people you this will never happen. You know, this is you will accumulate so much bad karma as a reader if you are dictating things to people. And if you are telling people this will never happen to you and this will never happen to you and blah blah, blah. Like no, divination does not operate in absolutes. Astrology does not operate in absolutes. Um, God does not work in absolutes. God works in ifs, in maybes, in possibilities, in potential. Nothing is ever set in stone. Nothing is ever concrete. The only time that things become solidified and concrete is when they happen, and then once it happens, it's written that way. It's etched in stone, right? Like as we're living our day-to-day experience, the things that are happening are getting recorded. They're getting written down, they're getting recorded. But before that occurrence actually happens, it still exists in the realm of potential and possibility. It is still changeable, it is still flexible. And this is one of the reasons why when I give predictions and stuff like this, I give people a window of time and I don't tell them guarantee, oh, this will 100% guaranteed happen. The only consciousness that knows what will be and what will not be is God, is spirit and the divine. Period. You know? And I don't take credit when I give predictions and they manifest and stuff like this. I don't take credit for that because I know that that wisdom is coming from spirit. That wisdom is coming from God. It's coming from beyond me. You know what I mean? And the tools like tarot and astrology are just, you know, the markers, they're the lenses that we've been given to be able to divinate, to be able to tap into the divine wisdom and God's wisdom. You know what I mean? So this is why we cannot think too highly of ourselves as divinators. And you know, one of the crazy things that I've noticed is there are spiritual workers and divinators that in the beginning of their journey, they're super tapped in and super gifted and like they were doing their magic for real. But then once their ego gets too big, once they start to develop a following, once they, you know, they reach 200, 300,000 followers, they lose the magic because they let their ego and their pride and their success and their fame and their popularity get to them. And all of a sudden, the sacred gifts that they were given, which allowed them to get to that place, get revoked and get taken away. Because we need, in order for us to do the magic, we need spirit. We need the relationship with the divine. This is why not all astrologers, not all tarot readers, not all divinators, not all psychics are good. Are good. They may have been good, but then they lose it because they let their ego and their pride. Because the moment that we start to get ahead of ourselves, the moment that we start to think that we're better than, the moment that we start to think we're all great and we're all gifted, God's like, oh, you know what? You thought? Let me humble you real quick. Let me remind you that this is not for you. The magic, the healing abilities, the gifts, the talents that I gave you, they're not for you. They're not to make you be all egotistical and prideful. No, they're for you to share with people, to be of humble service to others with. That's why you were given the gifts. That's why you're given the talent. That's why you're given the creativity. That's why you're given the magic. That's why you're given the wisdom. You weren't given it to go ahead and be and selfishly hoard it and to build pride and arrogance on it. No, 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 you weren't. You were here to share it with people from a place of humble service. And the moment that we start to get ahead of ourselves and think that we're greater than or better than, oh, and we're so gifted and we're so talented, you know what? Spirit's like, oh, I giveth and I taketh quickly, quickly. I've literally had this happen to me in a moment. Like, I used to do readings live, like this. I used to go live like this back in like 4 or 5 years ago when I was getting into this, when I just started. And I used to do live readings. I remember there was one time where like I gave a reading and it was like on point. And then I was like, oh my God, look at me. I'm so gifted and talented and all. And then literally the next reading, I tried to do the next reading and like nothing came through. Nothing was came through. And in that moment, I had to be like, all right, guys, I need to like take a little break. I need to like pray on this. I need to like get clear again. I need to humble myself. Like it'll literally happen in a moment where all of a sudden, oh. thinking too highly of yourself, bam, you get blocked, So, we always, in those of us that do this work, we always want to remember that the wisdom and the knowledge, it's coming in relationship with spirit and the divine and God. It's coming from the top down, right? It's not coming from us a lot of times. And this is why I don't take ownership over a lot of my work, because it's happening in partnership with spirit, you know? And this is also why there are astrologers and tarot readers that want to be able to divinate, that want to be able to, peer into the future and peer into the past, and that they want to be able to kind of like, give accurate readings, but they're not able to. You know why? Because they haven't cultivated a relationship with spirit and the divine, and they don't have a strong spiritual foundation. In order for you to do this work and to do it in a way where you're accurate and consistent, you absolutely need to incorporate this work into your spiritual beliefs in some type of way. You need to have a strong spiritual foundation or a strong spiritual understanding, right? If you don't believe, if you don't believe that we have free will and agency over life, then that's going to inform that your relationship with tarot and astrology. You know what I mean? If you don't believe in God, you know what I mean? Good luck giving accurate predictions. Good luck. If you don't believe in the divine, you don't believe in the cosmos, you don't believe in, if you have a very weak sense of faith and you don't even believe in the magic of your own craft, good luck. Good luck being able to share the magic of such a big part of being an energy healer, being a psychic, being a medium, being an astrologer, a tarot reader that's accurate. Such a big part of it is faith. Is faith. You have to believe it. If you do not believe you can do those things, you're not going to be able to do them. Period. This is why so many astrologers and tarot readers right now are struggling, and why their businesses aren't growing and stuff like this. It's because they do not have a strong spiritual foundation and they're not actually believing in their magic. Someone said, what's the difference between having faith and being delusional? Faith is a little delusional. And we think that delusion is a bad thing when it's not. You got to be able to see it and believe it before it can manifest. You see what I'm saying? You need a little bit of delusion. Faith is delusional, right? Faith is, faith is hoping for things that are unseen, right? We walk by faith, not by sight. You don't need evidence, you don't need proof to know that things are real, that things exist, or that you have magic. You see what I'm saying? Like the logical mind tells us, oh, we need the evidence, we need the proof, we need something tangible. You believe in air, you believe that air exists, and do you see air? No. The element of fire and air exist in the realm of potential most of the time. The element of air is unseen. It's unknown. It's all around us, and we don't see it. Who else is all around us and we don't see? God, Spirit, the divine. You don't see these things, right? Yet you believe it. So whenever someone is telling you, oh, I believe in science, be like, okay, well, do you believe in air? Do you think air exists? Yes. Do you see air? No. Okay, then. Come on. Simple. All we have to do, Jesus told us, all you have to do is look to nature to learn the truth of this reality. Nature will show you everything. The animals, the plants, the air, the sky, the planets, they'll show you everything. They'll teach you everything you need to know about this reality, right? So it's like, but we think we know so much as humans. We think we got it all figured out, and the universe revolves around us, and we have so much pride and ego, and we think we're so great. But we're the dumbest living creatures on this, I swear, on this planet. Human beings are so stupid and ignorant. They are, and they're so disconnected. They're disconnected from each other, they're disconnected from nature, they're disconnected from themselves, and they're blinded by their own ego, by their own arrogance, by their own superiority, by their own pride. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Do not be one of those human beings. Okay? When we start to respect each other, respect nature, when we start to cultivate a strong faith in the divine. We start to build a relationship with God. We start to build a relationship with our ancestors, with spirit. Everything in our life unfolds and gets magical and beautiful. And all of a sudden, God will start to show you, spirit will start to show you and tell you things that he don't tell nobody else or that she don't tell nobody else. You know what I mean? Cosmic wisdom and divine wisdom, it comes from having a heart that's clear and pure and focused. You know what I mean? And so it's important, it's important that we really cultivate a strong foundation of faith, especially if you are looking to get into work that requires faith, which is divination, any kind of magic, any kind of, healing work that you want to do. And you don't have to believe in this particular God. You could believe in whatever it is. You could build a relationship with any deity, the universe even, right? Like it's so fascinating because one of the things the Bhagavad Gita says is that, which is a ancient Hindu spiritual text, is that people, you don't even have to believe in God to get back to God. There are people that their pathway to the divine is through science and through logic. And he says that's okay too. You don't have to believe in me for me to exist, right? And this is one of the things that I posted on Threads a few days ago. You know, Astrology is the evidence of divine timing. Astrology gives us the architecture of time. And when we really understand astrology, what we are studying is the science of time because the planets orchestrate time. The only reason why we have daytime and nighttime is because of the sun and the moon. The only reason why we get the seasons is because the earth is rotating around the sun, right? Our days are determined by the sun. Our months are determined by the moon, right? How can how can the planets not be a part of time? How can the planets not be dictating when it's time to go and when it's time to stop and when it's time to do this and when it's right? What's so fascinating about astrology is people that don't even believe in astrology, the planets don't give a shit if you believe in them. Astrology doesn't care if you believe in them because you know what? They're still going to hold power over us and they're still going to go ahead and show you things. And they're still going to move in your life. And when it's time for them, when they tell you to jump, you're going to jump. Whether you believe in it or not, it don't matter. You don't have to believe in the daytime for the daytime to come. You don't have to believe in the nighttime for the nighttime to come. It's fascinating because there's people that do not believe in astrology, but guess what? They're still doing things when the planets are telling them that this is going to happen in their life. It's fascinating. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care if you believe in astrology. The planets don't care if you don't believe in astrology. The planets don't care if you believe in them. They still move, they still do things, and they still determine our days and our nights, and they still determine the seasons of our life. And we can go ahead and accurately see this, right? In everyone's chart. You know, when you really study people's charts and you understand how divine timing works or how timing works in astrology, you'll be able to see like events, key events in people's lives are tied to planetary alignments or planetary movements in their chart. It's a very fascinating thing. What's one way I became a better reader? By doing a lot of readings. You have to read. You have to read. You have to read. You have to do readings. The only way you're going to get better is by doing it. You know, the only way you're going to get better is by reading every day, reading charts every day, doing tarot readings for people every day, every day, as much as you can. You can't be afraid to do readings. The only way you're going to get better is by doing it. There are people that have been studying astrology for 10 and 15 years. Okay. Crazy to me. And they're still scared of doing readings for people and they're not improving or getting better because they're not doing the only way you're going to see your knowledge and your skills and your magic go to work is by doing readings for people. That's the only way. You're not going to be good at first. It's going to take you time to get better, but over time you get better and better and better and better and better at it. You know what I mean? You have to do readings and you have to jump at the opportunity. You can't be insecure or afraid to do readings. You at some point you're gonna have to take the leap, and it's better to start sooner than later. You know what I mean? I was doing readings within 3 months. I was doing tarot readings within 3 months of learning tarot. I was doing astrology readings within 1 year of doing astrology. You know what I mean? And I've grown so quickly as an astrologer and a tarot reader because I do readings for people all day, every day. And I'm looking at this chart. I'm looking at this. I'm just looking at charts all day, every day, you know? And I'm pulling cards for people every day. You know what I mean? That's how we grow. That's really how you're going to become a great reader by doing readings. Seriously. Saturn return in opposition, such a good example of how people are affected unbeknown to them. Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's really crazy because, it doesn't matter. Like the planets don't give a crap if you believe in them. The planets are a real thing. This is why like it's so weird to me that people are like can be so weird about astrology because astrology really gives us meaning. It explains things. And this is where the understanding of life, astrology can help us with the understanding and the meaning of life, you know, because the planets, they're not these like far out, things of mystery. Like they're not. Like you can go out every night and look up in the sky and you can look at the planets and you can see them. They're very real. They're very, very real. The planets are real. They're physical things that are floating in the sky. You can go ahead and get a telescope and you can look into the telescope and you can look at the planets existing in the sky as physical embodied objects. They're not mysterious hiding. Oh, are they real or not? No, they're real. Look up in the sky every night and look at them. They're proof of themselves. You know? It's just so crazy. People are so doubtful. People are afraid of meaning. It's weird. I think people are afraid of truth and meaning. I think really that's why there's so much stigma with astrology and the occult because underneath it all, people are just afraid of knowing. There's a deep fear of knowing. And so many people they have a very fragile belief system and if astrology and the planets are actually real and they're actually saying something about our life, then what else, what other belief systems are threatened by that truth? What it is. It's I think what it really is like I think people want to believe that they have full agency over their life. And anything that threatens their sense of free will or agency, which astrology can do, they immediately are like, oh no, that's evil. Oh no, like they feel it's like pretty much they feel threatened by it. That's what it is. Um, so I think, yeah, like I think the resistance that people have to like the occult and astrology and things like this, it's because they're afraid of the truth. They're afraid of they don't want their free will threatened. They don't want to believe that there are things that can happen that are bigger and beyond us, right? That can kind of wrap us into these situations or whatever where, something is being dictated about our experience or about what we're going through. But that's the other thing, right? The other thing that astrology shows us is that we don't have agency and control over everything in our life, right? Like sometimes we're going to be thrown into a situation or sometimes something's going to happen to us and the astrology shows us that it's happening, but it's like it was unavoidable, But also, there's so much peace and calm and healing in being able to let go of the responsibility of hard things and difficult things that happen to us. You know what I mean? Like if your chart can show you at this particular time someone is passing or someone is dying in your life, or that you at this particular time you may have lost a job or something, it validates our experience and it frees us from taking on a false sense of responsibility or a false sense of blame for that experience. You know, sometimes the planets and the astrology will show you your time with this thing or the time that this thing has been on earth is coming to an end and coming to a close. And it's a very natural process, you know? And it's beautiful because I do think astrology brings us some kind of peace and some kind of healing, and knowing that these things that we go through are connected to something greater than us and are timed by the planets in some type of way, you know? And I think it's such a beautiful healing thing, because when I go back and I look at these hard things that I've gone through in my life and I'm able to see it in the charts, it gives me a sense of like peace. It gives me a sense of closure with those things. It also gives me a sense of understanding. I think another beautiful thing that astrology can do for us is it can give us the why behind our experiences and behind things that we go through. It's really good at explaining the why, you know? I think it's beautiful. That's why I love astrology and I love tarot and I love divination, because it's so incredibly healing and validating for people. And it helps us get closure with the things that we're not meant to carry with us. It's a very beautiful thing. It's a very beautiful thing. But we have to be in right relationship with it though. Astrology is not about control. It's not about controlling our life. It's about kind of, steering our life in the direction that we want to go in, and it's about empowering us to be able to make better choices and decisions that are aligned with our chart. Or also, our astrology also shows us where we need to improve on ourselves, right? Like where we need to kind of work on ourselves to get the best out of life, right? Astrology collapses the ego drama triangle: victim, persecutor, savior, and people fight to the death to keep those roles. The nuance and co-creation challenge the ego. Yes, definitely. Victim, persecutor, savior. Challenge, yeah, astrology definitely does challenge that. But so yeah, I just want to share that some of those thoughts with you guys because, I think we need to have a really strong spiritual and philosophical relationship with astrology too, in order for us to be able to do it in a way that's healthy for the spirit. I I don't like we should not have a fear-based relationship with astrology. And this is one of the things that kind of like it irks me sometimes. Like, I'll be doing, like, for instance, I'll be showing, like, particular hard or difficult things that are happening in the collective in my stories. And then you guys will send me a message like, oh my God, I'm so scared. Like, oh, I'm going on this vacation, or oh, I'm going on this. And I'm like, babes, it's not about you. These isolated moments or events that are happening in the collective, like, very unlikely it's going to happen to you. Like, don't be afraid and don't take all astrology so personal, you know? It's like, and this is the deception of the ego, right? The ego wants to make everything about the self. It's not about you. I promise you, it's not. Like, this is why, like, when it comes to what I share on my page, we need to be very careful, especially with the more challenging astrological stuff. We need to be very careful about taking it personal and making it about us. It's not about you. And more than likely, just because there's this big collective theme happening around, planes falling out of the sky, around people drowning or whatever, it more than likely is not going to happen to you. You know what I mean? Unless your chart is being activated and you already have indicators of that in your chart. Is another thing is like in order for something to happen to us, it kind of needs to be in the chart already. There needs to be a possibility for that thing to happen in our chart. Our chart is the seed of our life. If the experience, if the possibility of that thing isn't in the natal chart, isn't in the seed of our life, then more than likely it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen because the chart there tells us that there needs to be a predisposition for that experience to manifest. You see what I'm saying? So it's like most of the time, the things that we're afraid of or scared of that are happening to us are never going to happen because why? It's not written in our chart. You see what I'm saying? It's not written in our chart. Can you give an example of this just out of curiosity, whatever you think of first? Like, for instance, okay, I'll like when it comes to a job, when it comes to like a job, like losing a job, right? Let's say you have the moon or Jupiter in your sixth house. You've never lost a job in your life. You sit at jobs forever. Your boss always likes you. And all of a sudden there's a transit that's coming around that's saying, "Oh my gosh, people are losing their jobs. People are losing their jobs." You're like, "Oh my God, I'm starting to panic. Oh my God, I'm starting to panic. Oh my God, I might lose my job." No, not for you. Because in your chart with that sixth house moon Jupiter, you're protected. You're protected. There has to be a predisposition in your chart already for potential to lose your job. So, in most people, they already know their chart. They already know that they're prone to losing jobs because they've already lost jobs or gotten laid off or fired before because it's already indicated in their chart. And you'll see this when people have Saturn in the sixth house, Mars in the sixth house, they have Uranus in the sixth house, right? Or they have a malefic ruling over their sixth house in some type of way, or the sixth house ruler is afflicted, you know. So if all of a sudden there's an astrologer saying, "Oh, watch out for your job, you might lose your job," and you look at your chart and you see that you're already prone to it, and then that you're also having transits that can indicate that, then yes, for you, yes, you need to be talk to your boss, be like, and take a look at what's happening because, right? So there kind of has to already be the groundwork for certain things to manifest in our chart for those things to happen, right? And there are indications of things in your life that you're going to be protected from, right? Like for instance, Jupiter in the eighth house, the moon in the eighth house. When you have a Venus or Jupiter ruling your eighth, or let's say you have the eighth house ruler in the ninth or the first, this tells us that you're going to live a long life. You're going to live a long life. You're gonna be fine, you know? So it's like you may get sick, you may get ill, things like this, but your life is not like in jeopardy. You know what I mean? Like, and so don't be afraid when you're traveling. Don't be afraid when you're going out in the world and stuff because, right? Like the chart is telling us you're gonna be here a while. You're gonna be here a long time. So don't navigate your life with fear. Take risks, take chances. It's funny because you'll see in people that are kind of like daredevils or people that like have risky jobs or like skydiving and stuff like this. They'll also have indications in their chart of being protected from like near or like being protected from like dying and stuff, you know? Daredevils. Let's see, hold on. Famous daredevils. And then they'll have a transit that says, "Hey, you should not be doing daredevil stuff around this time." uh, Evil Knievel, hold on. Evil Knievel. I'm gonna look him up really quick. I want to look at his chart. Let me see if we have it. He does have a chart. Yeah, see, okay, I would have told Evil Knievel, brother, hey, don't do that. You have Mars in the eighth house. More than likely, you're gonna die in a tragic way. Or I'd even, if I was working with Evil Knievel as his astrologer, I would tell him, don't do anything dangerous around this time because Evil Knievel with Mars and he's an Aquarius rising with Mars and Virgo in the eighth house. That Mars in Virgo in the eighth house tells us that more than likely you're going to die in a violent, tragic way. And when that Mars is activated, let's say Saturn's in Pisces opposing that Mars or his Mars in Virgo is getting eclipsed, do not do anything dangerous at that time. Because if you do, more than likely, you're going to end up dying, you know? Mars in Virgo in the eighth house is an indication of dying in a violent way or dying like in a fire or dying in an accident. Evil Knievel death. Hold on. How did he die? Oh wow, he died. He actually didn't die in a violent way. He did not die performing a stunt. He died from a health condition, a long-term health condition associated with his lungs. Where does that show? Oh, Mercury and Libra. See, yeah, and this is exactly what I was talking about. So remember when I said when someone has the eighth house ruler in the ninth, that they'll be protected from near-death experience or from death, and they'll live a long life? He has that. So even though he has Mars in the eighth house in Virgo, his eighth house ruler The ruler of his eighth, Mercury, is in the ninth house of luck and divine protection with the sun in Libra. He's also this guy's got sunshine Jupiter. So he's actually divinely protected, or he was divinely protected during all his stunts and stuff, right? But he didn't take care of himself health wise. That's why he has Mars and Virgo. He didn't take care of himself. He was not a healthy guy. So it's exactly what I mentioned around divine protection from passing, or like being divinely protected with like near death experiences and stuff. When you have the eighth house ruler in the ninth house or the fifth house, more than likely you're going to live a long life, and the way that you pass away, um, it's not going to be as hard or difficult. It's interesting though, because he does have Mars and Virgo in the eighth, so I'm pretty sure he did have near death experiences. Let's see. Near death experiences. Oh yeah, he did. He did. He did. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. Look, he survived. Look at this. Mars in the eighth house, Evil Knievel. He survived numerous spectacular near-death crashes over his career, most notably his disastrous 1967 Caesar's Palace fountain jump, which left him in a 29-day coma. His other life-threatening stunt failures included 1974 Snake River Canyon rocket jump and the Wembley Stadium crash. Throughout his career, the Daredevil suffered nearly 40 broken bones, endured severe trauma, and required over 15 major surgeries. He has Mars in the eighth house. Mars in the eighth house will beat you up. You'll have near-death experiences. But why didn't he die? Because the eighth house ruler is in the ninth. Divine protection. This guy, and he had Jupiter trining his sun. Jupiter in the rising, trining the sun. Divine protection. You know, it's so interesting because when people have a really strong eighth house ruler, or it's well positioned in the chart, um, the divine won't let them die. God will not let them die. It's actually fascinating, you know? It's actually fascinating. And also, Mars does really well in the eighth house, and Saturn does really well in the eighth house as well. People that have Saturn, Mars in the eighth, they will live long. So it's interesting. Actually, the difficult planet, Saturn and Mars, they actually do really well in the challenging houses. Except the 12th. I don't think Saturn and Mars do well in the 12th. I don't think any planet does well in the 12th, actually. Maybe Saturn does the best there, but Mars, no. Mars does not do well in the 12th house. But in the sixth house and the eighth house, Saturn and Mars do really well. They do really well in those houses. They um they tend to help people accomplish their goals and their dreams. They help people with managing their money and their resources, and they help people also recover from health illnesses, or they give them a really strong body. Yeah, Sag Mars in the 12th house. Yeah, that's difficult. What's so interesting is, like, I've seen the 12th house Mars manifest in so many different ways. I've seen women that have a 12th house Mars, they tend to lose men in their life in really tragic ways. Like 12th house Mars, brothers dying to violence, husbands committing suicide, their father having a secret hidden life, their father being a drug addict or being a drug dealer, or, engaging in criminal activity. They can have a brother who's in a gang. They can have also men that end up in prison in their life. So I've also noticed with the 12th house Mars, when women have that, they can have a boyfriend or a dad that ends up going to jail, or a brother that goes to jail. Or they could fall in love with the lover that, or they could fall in love with somebody that's in jail that is a criminal, or has a criminal background, things like this. There tends to be a lot of, for women particularly, when Mars in the 12th, they tend to have a lot of troubled experiences with men, troubled experiences with men. It's a very common thing, or sad outcomes when it comes to the relationships with men, you know. Yeah, it's a tough one. Mars in the 12th is a tough one as a woman, because you have the men that you deal with they can have psychosis, they can also be alcoholics or drug addicts. You can end up with men that are alcoholics or drug addicts, or that they're working the black market, they're doing some kind of black market activities, things that they shouldn't be doing, the 12th house Mars. But yeah, no, Mars in the 6th and 8th is really good for overcoming health issues. You're a Sag rising. Oh, you don't have a 12th house Mars then? Well, if you're looking at your chart in whole sign, you don't have a 12th house Mars. Mars in the 7th is fighting with partners, yeah. Yeah, Mars in the 11th, yeah, fighting with friends, male friends. Most of your friends are going to be men. Mars in the 11th. No, so sunset, you actually, if you're looking at your chart in whole sign, you have Mars in the rising. You don't have Mars in the 12th house. You'll know. When you look at your chart in whole sign, you'll know if those placements are in the first or in the 12th. You will know, I promise you. A lot of people that are looking at their chart in Placidus, they think that they have 12th house planets when they're actually in the first, you know? Because the first house, 12th house cusp is determined by the ascendant, where in whole sign it is not. The ascendant is somewhere in the first house, you know? So I like Placidus for certain things, but I always think we should look at our chart in whole sign. Gemini rising around Mars. Where is my Mars if it's in Virgo? If you're Gemini rising, you have Mars in the fourth house of home and family. That's a tough Mars. Fighting, that's also Mars that indicates fighting with partners or fighting with men. Mars in the fourth, Mars in the seventh, Mars in the eighth brings issues with partnerships and love. And also Mars in the rising, you know. You might be the problem. Oh, you're a Cap rising? Yeah, if you have Mars in the first, you might be the problem in your relationship. All right, my loves. Well, we are here at 1:30, 11, 10:30, 11:30, 12. We've been here for oh my God, 3 hours. Can you believe it? Virgo, Mars in the 12th house. Oh, you better watch out for gay men. Falling in love with gay men. That is a big one for 12th house Mars and Virgo as a Libra rising. That can literally manifest as partners that are bisexual. That can manifest as partners that are sex addicts. If you have 12th house Mars and Virgo, that could be a partner that's a sex addict, has a hidden addiction, or that cheats on you when they're at work, or cheats on you with an employee when they're with another employee or another coworker. That's how Mars and Virgo in the 12th house can manifest. You gotta be real careful when you have a 12th house Mars, 8th house Mars, or 12th house Venus, 8th house Venus. You got to do your research and you got to do your detective work on people before you get into relationships, before you commit. What's the remedy? Trusting your intuition, and if someone has a victim narrative, or if someone is not ready to be in a relationship, or someone is coming with all this like drama and crisis, or someone is hiding things from you when they show up, they're not really being open or vulnerable, or they're hiding things or keeping you out of their life. Red flag, you know? If you have a 12th house or 8th house Mars or Venus, you when you're partnering and getting to know someone, everything needs to be out in the open. You got to be able to see everything in their life. If they're not inviting you over to their house, you don't know where they live, they're holding, their family away from you, or they never let you meet their family, you run. You leave them alone. You let them go. Okay? Because um, I've seen a lot of people with those placements, they will get themselves into trouble by dating these people and falling in love with them, and then they find out that they got a whole other family, they got a whole other relationship, they got all this other stuff going on. For the person that has 12th house Mars, what can they do about it? Spiritual connection. Yeah, and also like finding a partner that, yeah, they're spiritually connected to, that they can build a private life with, who has a strong system of faith or belief. Or also a partner from a different culture, a different ethnicity. That's a really good way to alleviate 12th house Mars, 12th house Venus placements, is literally partnering with someone who's a foreigner, so that karma doesn't, that the negative manifestations of the 12th house karma doesn't manifest, you know? Also waiting for good positive transits to happen with your Mars or to happen with love before you like date, you know? Um, if you have if your chart indicates difficult, challenging love experiences, then when you are having like Jupiter transit like the first or the seventh, or you're having, you know, a retrograde, an important retrograde in the fifth house or the seventh house, that should be when you're dating. That should be when you know, try to meet someone or you make yourself available to relationships because that's when you can meet a partner that's more divinely connected and things like this, you know? So, okay. All right, my loves. Well, this is fun. Thank you for everyone. Thank you for hanging out today. Today was a little bit different than the standard week ahead Astro just because we don't really have that much going on. We're wrapping up our new moon in Gemini cycle this week. We're going to a full moon in Capricorn. Mercury is slowing down to start retrograding at the end of this week. Jupiter is about to go into Leo, and we also have our Uranus Mars conjunction. So this week, we're kind of like wrapping things up. We're kind of closing the door. Things are settling down. We may also feel like we need to finish or complete something this week. There may be a sense of urgency this week. We may also, you know, this week I think is a good week to also get back to whatever thing that you've been creating, whatever thing that you've been doing, you know, like whatever you want to grow in your life, whatever you want to grow in your life, pour energy, pour time, pour love, pour money, pour attention into that thing this week, okay? Maybe you want to grow a talent. Maybe you want to grow a business. Maybe you want to, you know, grow a plant. I don't know. Maybe you want to grow, I don't know, grow something. Whatever it is that you want to, you know, expand or grow, or whatever it is that you want to bring into the world. That's another thing. Whatever you're looking to birth. It's cancer season, right? It's the first week of cancer season. What do you want to birth into the world? What are you trying to bring into the world? What are you trying to manifest into the world? Okay. What do you have to offer the world? You know, these are big questions that you should be asking yourself. And these questions and the answers to these questions should also be how you're pivoting and and you should be moving towards those things this week. Okay. Or this week is a really, really good week to kind of, you know, pour your energy into things that you love, the things that give back to you, the things that you want to manifest, or things that you want to grow. Okay. I love you all so much. Take good care of yourselves. Be well. I'm going to go ahead and post this also on YouTube, and we will be back later. So I'm going to be doing tarot for all 12 signs for the week. This evening, I'll be coming back maybe around 7 o'clock, maybe two, like that's like 4 or 5 hours from now, and we're gonna be doing a special 12 sign tarot. It's gonna be for the summer solstice, so it's gonna be messages from the sun from the for the solstice. Okay, so I'll see you guys later on today. It'll be around like 7 o'clock. I think around seven. We're gonna do some 12 sign tarot. Okay. So I'll see you guys later on for that. Okay. Mwah. I love you guys. Bye.